Hello and welcome to episode 94 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Davey and joined with me, as always, is the fine wine himself, Mr. Philippoy.
It's not coming home. Viva España.
Viva España, my friend. I feel I'm right there with you. You know, I'm not English, I know you are, but I was supporting the England boys. You know, I grew up on a border town, I was close to being English as I possibly could be, and I thought, well, you know, Wales didn't quite make the cut this year, so why don't I throw my full weight behind England? And I even put a 10 quid bet on, which I never do.
Jeez.
And yeah, maybe that's the reason why we lost, because everything else was coming in good on that little bet builder. And yeah, they just couldn't secure the win. And we are not joined by the boy wonder today. We are instead joined by the chief, Potato Chief Lewis. You are taking place of Spencer because he's not very well today. He's a bit under the weather. So how are you doing, my friend?
I am ecstatic. I am very happy. Feliz Navidad. That's the only thing in Spanish I can think of off the top of my head. I should have some sangria. I don't know. Viva España! Yes, Spain! Let's
Just
go.
likes to be controversial every single time.
What a scumbag. You know, the majority of people listening to this are English. You know that, right? We got like maybe 4 Scottish listeners and like outside of our mothers, I don't know who else in Wales listens to this. So I think, you know, most of it, I'm appealing to the English fan base here, and I'm sorry for your loss. I am sorry for your loss. But onwards and upwards, isn't it? And next time, Wales is going to be there for the World Cup, maybe. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Well, listener, moving away from football, we have got an absolute stacked show today, a juicer, if you will. We are going to run through a normal run of the show with a question to kick us off, move it into what we've been playing. We got 2 pieces of quick news each to bring to the table, so 6 pieces altogether, a listener question thrown in there for good measure, and then we're going to end. Our topic of the show today is all about Concord. So we played the open beta, thank you very much, Balloon. We played it loads over the weekend, and I think we are all ready to share our thoughts with you. But we got a long old road till then. So first off, guys, a question. Lewis runs a wrestling channel over on YouTube. Congratulations on just achieving 5,000 subscribers, my friend. And I thought on the back of that, let's start off with a question which is wrestling related. And I don't think we've ever gone into this before. So if you were a professional wrestler in the WWE, what would your name be and your kind of identity? What would you kind of make your presence be around? You know, like Kane's the big red machine. He's chokeslamming people through tables. Fireworks are going off. Nobody knows his face until they kind of did. And now he's a mayor of somewhere. I want to know what you're thinking. Lewis, let's start with you. Let's go with the guest first.
Big question. So, I mean, growing up, I would always be either Potato or Chief. And then I have on my channel, I had a series where I had Potato versus Chief. Potato was the good guy, Chief was the heel. But the character I'd actually go with is one of my spin-off characters, which is Captain Wales. Welsh flag bandana, big glasses, throwback to the 80s of wrestling. Bit like Macho Man, bit like Hulk Hogan. And he fights for every Welsh man out there, all 3 million of us. And he fights for the Welsh power, and essentially he's a throwback to 80s wrestling, and he has all the, you know, the Hulkster taunts and all that, you know, that would be my character, super baby face, and instead of being an American patriot, it's a Welsh patriot, who comes down to Yamo Heed, which is, we are still here, which is the Welsh song of defiance. So yes, Captain Wales. Heed.
I love it,
and
mate.
a bit patriotic.
I'm really surprised you didn't go for a bit of alliteration, though, and go for, like, the Welsh warrior. Or is that what maybe,
that
like,
works.
people call you?
That could work, Welsh warrior. Yeah, it's because I'm not a huge fan of the Ultimate Warrior, to be honest, because he said some dodgy things. Let's just say that. But then Hulk Hogan did as well, so it's more of a like a Macho Man kind of character idea, though. The Captain Wales. Yeah, I could have done more alliteration, to be fair. Something to do with dragons.
Didn't we have a Welsh warrior within WWE? I faintly remember a guy called Rob Terry. Am I correct on that? He was like a big Welsh bodybuilder from Swansea. And he was very, very Welsh. He was just a typical Welsh lad that somehow found his way into the WWE. I think it was around 2010, 2015 sort of time. I'm really testing your knowledge here, Lewis.
That might be
Rob
Mason
Terry.
Ryan, or the character might.
He was the freak.
The freak.
The freak.
I mean,
Rob
there's
Terry.
a couple of Welsh wrestlers. There's been a couple of Welsh wrestlers in the past, but sadly there's never been a Welsh world champion. The closest we come is Drew McIntyre, who is the first British world champion who was Scottish, and when he came to Cardiff, that was his hometown, even though it's obviously not. That's the closest we've come, unfortunately. There's Tegan Knox, who's Welsh. She's pretty good. There's not many Welsh wrestlers at the moment, but maybe I'll be the first to break through and be the first Welsh world champion in WWE. Make it happen. WWE, do it.
Do you have a name for like your special move?
Well, it would be an elbow drop, but I couldn't think of a name for it. I got to think of a name for it now. We need a Welsh name for it.
Put him in the pit,
Welsh
mate.
Independence.
You could call it the coal pit. And just putting him, you'd be like, oh, he's going for the mine. And you could be like mining and then just drop down, yeah.
Yeah, that works.
What about just down? And then when you go, die out. And they're like, oh. There we go.
Die.
That's a bit of your...
the Ponty Pig.
Oh, yeah.
Which is Welsh from Microwave.
I like this.
That's about all the Welsh I know.
It keeps going though. You could do so much with this whole Welsh gimmick. I think you could do quite a lot with it. Yeah. I quite like it. Bringing Welsh back. Yeah. I appreciate it. Phil, what about yourself? What are you bringing to the table here, or who are you putting through a table as your guy?
Well, Dave, it's funny you referenced the tables because one of my favourite wrestlers of all time. It's a cliche, really. It's Jeff Hardy, and he was famous for being in TLC matches, of course, with the ladders, the chairs, and the tables. And he was a high flyer, and he was always my favourite. He had a touch of kind of... Who's the guitarist? Wes Borland, that's it, from Limp Bizkit. He had a touch of his kind of personality going into wrestling, where he'd paint up his faces and kind of be on the kind of devil side. And he's a bit strange, a bit of an alternative character. And I think when I was growing up, I was a little bit of an alternative character. I had quite long hair, liked all the alternative bands growing up. We still go to Download now. So I think I'd like to bring that through within my character. But then going further back, my favourite character of all time, my favourite wrestler of all time, still to this day, is Ric Flair. Woo! Of course, the dirtiest player in the game. And he's famous for just being a heel. A pretty shit wrestler, really, just awesome on the mic and quite a good stage presence. Everyone would always get behind him and just love to hate him. And I think people still love to hate him with his social media antics that we see quite often because I follow him and I retweet him and I love literally everything the man does. So if I could combine the two into some sort of hybrid between Jeff Hardy with his painting his faces and being quite alternative and then being a really dirty player like Ric Flair, I think I'm onto something there. I think that's my character. That's my persona going in. And to double tap the whole alternative angle here, not one of my favourite bands, but one of my favourite bands that I love to hear the chant is just Slayer. So of course, my name would be Phil Slayer Hoy. As I come down to its raining blood.
I thought you'd be the Nature Hoy.
Oh, that's good.
I like that too.
The Nature Hoy.
Oh, that's good. That is so good. That is so good. So what would your finisher be? Have you thought about it? Have you obsessed over how you would do it and what you would do?
Right. So we got the Swanton Bomb from Jeff Hardy, and then we got the 4-figure leg lock, I think, from Ric Flair. So I don't know really how I'm going to combine those two unless I somehow jump off the top of the ring into a 4-figure leg lock. I don't know if that's even possible, but maybe I would try it. I would jump forward into them and then tangle them up as I came down into the leg lock, and they'd have to submit. That'd be the only way out of the Slayer drop.
I can't imagine you being that technical of a wrestler. I just can't imagine it. No, no way. Like, I can imagine Lewis doing an elbow drop. I think that's well within, that's well within limits. I can't imagine. I've never seen you be that agile. I've never thought of, Phil the Slayer Hoy and thought, oh, he's like a cat, He's that athletic. It's never crossed my mind. But who knows? Maybe you're a different kind of animal in the ring.
For sure. And I've been going to the gym now, near enough, off and on, the last year. Well, I say off and on, pretty much 5 to 7 days a week. So I'm pretty nimble these days. I've been lifting the weights. I'm ready for the opportunity. Vince, if you're listening, and I know you do, give me the ring. My DMs are open.
Put
Vince
him in the
now.
ring. The Nature Hoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm signing to Vince's new label. That's what it is.
Yeah, he's done some dodgy shit. He's been cancelled, Vince McMahon. So, ooh.
Hey, if you listen to our last podcast, we should be cancelled, and particularly me.
Cancelled.
So
Yes.
I'm probably in that area anyway. So I don't mind.
You fit in well. You fit in well with Vince. Well, I'm going back. Oh my God, I've just seen a picture of the Captain Wales.
Captain Wales.
Fucking hell. I'll never unsee that now. Well, mine is pretty boring, I guess, compared to you guys. I used to play WWE games all the way from like the original SmackDown game. Well, from Attitude, really, all the way through for a long ass time, for like 10 odd years. And my character I create every time was just called MJD. And it was just a total rip-off of Rob Van Dam. Complete rip-off. So it'd just be MJD. And my special, you'll never guess it, is a fucking frog splash. It was just a complete rip-off. Yeah, it was just complete rip-off of RVD. But what I'm hoping is that so many years have gone by now that people won't really pick up on it too much. And the older ones will. But the newer generation, they'll be like, oh, this is well original. And I'll just come in. I might even have like the full leotard thing that he had. And I could even rip off a bit of Kurt Angle in that when things are getting serious, the two straps come down. And then it's MJD. And then just come in with the frog splash. Total rip-off. Absolute rip-off. But I haven't really got a name for the frog splash yet. I can't remember what Rob Van Dam called it. So it's whatever it is, I'm just going to call it exactly the same thing. The 5-star. Maybe I'll call it a 4-star.
No, go 6. Just do one better.
6-star.
The 7 out of 10 frog splash.
I like that. Didn't he also have another move called Rolling Thunder?
Did he? What was that?
Thunder,
where he like rolled into them? I think he had
like
some sort of move where he tumbled into her.
Oh,
there we go. Oh, I'm flexing my wrestling knowledge.
And the Van Daminator, where you throws a chair at someone and then kicks the chair into their face, which is awesome.
Oh, that was always class. I didn't know that had a name. Oh, wow. I'm learning something new here all the time. I think if I was going to keep on ripping off, I'd want just my own version of a stunner, I think. The stunner's just the best move ever, and everyone loves a stunner. Oh, so I'll probably just rip that off.
The best move.
Yeah, I think what I'd do is I could even call myself just the Avenger. And they'd be like, oh, why is he called the Avenger? And it's just I'm nicking everyone's shit. So I'm nicking, maybe I do a rock bottom one time, and then it's a pedigree. And nothing original. They've all seen it a million times. And when they think, that, maybe he's pulling out a new move, maybe I'll just choke slam someone, and just keep it going. Just every single week, you never know what special move you're going to get.
I could see you being super popular off that because wrestling fans, and me included, love nostalgia because it's an aging market, just like the video games market. When we talk about PlayStation, we talk about Xbox. Wrestling crowd is all in their 30s. There isn't many children that are coming into it. When I went to one of these live events, everyone's sort of my age. And as soon as they reference anything from the past, everyone just goes mental. And of course, it just happens all the time. I dip in from time to time with wrestling, generally when I'm ill, because it's a bit of a guilty pleasure. I just binge watch a bunch of wrestling. And I'm miles behind the current curve that Lewis is on. I don't even know who half the people are that turn up on my Twitter timeline. But as soon as they reference anything from the past, they're always super popular, apart from Ronda Rousey, when she tried to rip off Roddy Piper. I don't think that went down well. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, Lewis.
Well, she had permission for Roddy Piper to do that, but no one liked Ronda Rousey in WWE. No, she was she didn't do too well, to be honest. She kind of didn't really like being a bad guy, and everyone wanted to boo her, so she just didn't like it. Clearly, she got fed up and left. So, it's not cut out for everyone. I would love to be a bad guy in wrestling, though. To be honest, I think that's the funnest part, is to get booed and stuff. That sounds like a laugh to me. I love that.
So me and you are heels, right? But Davey is like a baby face, obviously. You want to be loved.
Yeah.
I would like to be loved, yeah, I would. And I think it would kill me a bit if everyone hated the fact I was ripping everyone off and everyone was like, you just rip off. Unless then I made that my character and I'd be making sure that I'd go up to The Rock and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna nick some of your moves tonight. And he's like, no, you're not allowed to. And then all of a sudden, just the armband comes off, throws it into the crowd and just do it anyway, like, fuck you, Rock. And that's what I'd do. I'd probably just be like, just trying to start drama, and that would be my character then. I'd just have to take that role. Yeah, I'd go for that. But listeners, I would love to know what you would do. What would be the name of your wrestler? Write in, let us know. Hit us up on the Twitter @InPSWeTrust. Now let's move it on to what we've been playing.
This time on NPS We Trust, what have the boys been playing?
So guys, it's been 2 weeks since the last podcast episode, and I'm desperate to know what you've been up to in that time. Phil, let's come across to you first.
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked, because I've been plugging away at a little game that I'm mentioning quite a lot on these podcasts, and that, of course, is Dave the Diver. Now, there's not much to add on this one, because I talked quite in depth last episode, didn't I? But I just wanted to say this game is so damn addictive. I've got to the part now where I can farm fish. So I'm going down, diving in the big blue, collecting my fish, laying little eggs, and they're like spawning new fish for me then to chop up and serve in the sushi restaurant. And lucky fish, I've got you trapped. So that's a new element now they've added to the game. Now, I'm going to be sad when this game eventually ends. And something Spencer asked me on the last episode was, does this game actually end? So I had to know the answer. I kind of assumed that there would be a narrative end, and I was right with my assumptions. There are 7 chapters to the main story. Of course, you can carry on playing and upgrading things thereafter, but there's 7 chapters of story within this game. Apparently, it takes around 24 hours to play the game to completion, and 46 if you want to do 100%. So I think that's just hours and hours of painstakingly going around trying to collect the most minute fish in the deep, deep blue. And maybe I don't want to do that, but we'll see. We'll see. It might be one of those games that I just leave on my PlayStation for a long time and I just dip in and dip out. And it's that type of game, really. As you know, and as I've mentioned a few times, I play this majority of the time on the Portal, and it's just a perfect game for that. Now, I'm about halfway into the game now. I've done a few more hours. I thought I was halfway last time, but now I know there's 7 chapters. I'm on chapter 4, so I'm just over halfway with the game. So you might hear about it again in 2 weeks. But other than that, I'll put a close to Dave the Diver because we've got so many games to talk about, and I've been playing more games than we've got time to mention. So let's move this on. Lewis, I think you're up next.
As you can see with my shirt, I have been playing Elden Ring. Being obsessed with it. The DLC is incredible. On the podcast on Xbox The Box, I gave it a 10 out of 10, perfect score. And I stand by it because the original Elden Ring is one of my favorite games of all time, and the DLC is just more of the same. I heard you guys Spencer and Davey talking about it a lot in the last podcast. I don't want to go into too much detail because the audience have heard a lot about it. But damn, this game slaps. It slaps tits, as Davey likes to say. It's a juicer. It's cracked. I just love it. I'm stuck on the last boss, and it's starting to piss me off. So I'm tempted, But apart from that, I really enjoy it. I think it's great. I'm a magic user, which Spencer would call baby mode, but I still enjoy playing it that way. And I think that's the great thing about Elden Ring is you can play it in different ways and have different styles of play. So yeah, I mainly use magic and summons, which everyone considers cheap, but I don't care because I still beat the game. So screw you. But yeah, I enjoy it a lot. It's 10 out of 10 for me.
Did either of you remember on the internet, you used to get soundboards, didn't you? Where you'd get like an Ali G soundboard and you'd press a button and he would say one of his catchphrases that everyone loves, right? Lewis, you are an NPS We Trust soundboard, aren't you? You've just been pressing the Davey button there a few times throughout your roundup of Elden Ring. I hate to think what comes out when, you press my button.
Nonce.
Don't say it, Lewis. Don't say it. I don't want to be cancelled. We don't want to be cancelled.
Everyone's a nonce.
Everyone's a nonce. No. I haven't had time. I've been on my travels. Those are the Phil Hoy standards. Well, Lewis, I gotta come in on the Elden Ring hype because I'm happy to report that I have finished the DLC. I suppose it really paints the picture of how much I struggled with FF7 on the last episode that I was talking about. Because I've put 30 hours in over the last 2 weeks and got it done, and I've been sitting at like 100% completion on this now for about a week. So I really just put the hours in, just couldn't stop playing it. And I fully back you up. 100% it's a 10 out of 10. And for me, I think this DLC has been the best experience I've had so far this year. Hands down. Easily better than anything else I've played this year.
I agree. This is my game. If you can count DLC as game of the year, this will be my game of the year. And also, because you were saying, as you were saying about Final Fantasy just then, I'm one of those people. I'm a bit ADD. I like playing lots of different things. I'm like, I'll play this. I'll play this. I'll play this. I'll play this. As soon as the Elden Ring DLC came out, that's literally all I played non-stop for like 2 weeks. Like I didn't want to play anything else. It took over my life. So I've stopped playing it now because I can't get past the last boss. But I did really enjoy it, and it was a 10 out of 10 experience for me. And highly recommend it if you are one of the few people who managed to get to Moog in the base game.
I've got a quick question for you, Lewis. Now that you've got to a point where you're kind of feeling like you're done with the DLC, you got to the end boss and you thought, actually, that's too hard. I'll go away and think about it. And I've done that with many games, so I'm not criticizing you for doing that. But now you're a Souls-like fan, because correct me if I'm wrong, I think on a previous podcast you sort of mentioned that this isn't your preferred genre as such. And Elden Ring is quite different in the sense that they have a much wider range of characters, such as the magic users, which is a bit more accessible. Now you've got so far with the magic user, does that spur you on to almost want to create one of the melee classes, for example, or try a different path with this game? Do you think you'll ever go back through it, or even just go back and just try this game a little? Because I get posed this question a lot by the boys on the podcast. Are you going to come into Elden Ring now? All the DLC's out, everything's here. We could double up, we could team up, la la la. And they haven't convinced me yet, but I'm interested to see if it's that good for you as the magic user, and you've got as far as you want to get. Would you now go back and play a little bit with a different class? Is it that good?
It's a hard question. So, I suck at melee builds. I haven't got the best reflexes and hand-eye coordination. I've said to you in the past, I've got dyslexia and dyspraxia, which means I got slow reflexes. So this is the first Souls game that I've managed to actually complete, and I own all of them. I love the idea of Bloodborne and stuff. But I just never get that far into them. I was considering doing a faith build, but that's essentially the same thing. It's still me standing in the background going, duh, doing that, not actually getting in the fight. But I know that there's blood builds and there's loads of really cool builds you could do. It is something I am considering, definitely, because even though I can't get there's no platinum trophy on Xbox, I want to get 1,000%. I want to get 1,000 gamer score, which is 100%. And to do that, I need to do another 2 playthroughs. So I need to play it through again if I want to get all the achievements. So yeah, I have considered it. I'm gonna see if I can beat this final boss first, though, before I consider doing it, starting all over again. Get my ass kicked.
Yeah, you're right there. And I mean, the thing about it is, I played a full strength build, as I always do. And I managed to do the entire DLC, no summons, no help, nothing like that. Just did it all. Beat the final boss, and it was hard. It was solid. He took me a good few times to be able to beat. It took me about 2.5 days, I think it was, of just hitting my head against a wall. But as soon as I learned how to beat him, which was a case of having to change my entire build, really. I had to change my flask that I took into it, I had to change my talismans that I wore, but the rest of my build stayed static. It was fine, and as soon as I learned his attack patterns, it wasn't too hard, right? I didn't have anywhere near the trouble I had with him that I did with Mesmer earlier in the DLC, where I was way underleveled. I had like 5 Skadu tree fragments. He took me way longer, and Melina, or whatever her name is, the blood character in the base of Elden Ring, took me way longer to beat than Radam did. So Radam was hard though, and I really enjoyed it when Spence got there, and I'd offered my help the entire time, and he hadn't taken it, and he'd done really well with his bleed build, and beat a dragon boss that I really struggled with called Bale. He beat him, and I was like, fucking hell, Spence, you're going to go all the way. He hit Radam, it was just an absolute stopping block, and he got into the fight loads of times, and he was like, right, I'll bring you in, Davey, let's just do this, let's get this done. And we were still getting our shit rocked, and it was harder. I found it harder in co-op than I did on my own, because what would happen is that he'd start a string of attacks and I'd be used to dodging them, but then halfway through, he would switch aggro to someone else. And so you never quite knew. He'd be in the middle of a string fighting somewhere, and in phase 2, he's got these instant teleport moves where he just comes at you. So I'd be chilling out there watching Spence just have a go, and the next thing you know, I'm in the middle of a fucking string. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And so I found it really quite difficult. And in the end, what we had to do with Spence is he had to go and respec his character, and we did a trick which you can do in co-op, which is where I can back up my save online, drop all my gear to Spence. He then gets all my gear, and then I download my save from PS Plus, and I'm back in with my character with all my stuff, and then Spencer's got all my stuff as well. And so that meant then Spence could rejig his character, so we had 2 of my characters full strength builds with 2 double hammers, and that's how we had to beat it for Spence, because we just couldn't do it any other way. Spence was getting his shit rocked by him, and so was I in co-op, and so we were like, right, let's just double hammer this guy. And then we still had to fight, but I managed to help him through the end. But my God, what a great finale that was.
I love that you decide to bring that up on a podcast that Spencer's not on, so you could just completely embarrass him. He may not even listen to this podcast. I know what Spencer's like sometimes. He doesn't always listen to the episodes or re-listen to the episodes. So we can say what the fuck we want about him at the moment. Go at him. What else has he done that's embarrassing?
It's the truth.
He went round the school with poo, didn't he? He did that.
He did.
Now he's shit out on the last boss in Elden Ring.
In all fairness to Spence, he could have got him if he put the time in. But I think it was just one of those things of he had already kind of broke before, and he'd already used summons and stuff like that. So as soon as you hit that button and you decide to use that, at that point, there's, how low can you get from there? Like as soon as you hit that, that's it. Like your kind of cool points, no one gives a fuck, are out the window. So, and for me, I was close to hitting that fucking button a couple of times, and I didn't. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because now I can lord it over Spence, And that's the only thing I got.
And you want the cool points, because you actually care about the cool points. If anyone cares about the cool points, it's you, isn't it?
It is me.
I'm surprised you haven't got that hat backwards. Like, come on, Mr. Cool Points over there.
Well, I failed in the base because I had to use a mimic tier for Melania, right? And so I was committed this time that I was not going to do it, and that's the only thing. It was just pure willpower that drove me through. But Lewis, I think you're right. I think we can class Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree as its own standalone game, because it's bigger than a lot of the games that have come out this year. Yeah. There's so much content here. And I put 30 odd hours into this expansion, and I've beaten every boss, or every boss that I know of anyway, especially all the ones that are all the main bosses and all the big side quest bosses, beaten all those. I think we can include it. And I think you're right to say that at the moment, this is it. This is the peak of gaming in 2024. But a lot of, 6 more months to go, or 5 more months to go. So who knows what we could be seeing by the end of the year.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because it would have been hilarious if you had your 2 hammer guys, and then you both use the mimic tier, because then you'd have 4 of the hammer guys just battering down on him going,
that'd be wild.
That'd be absolutely wild. And I've beaten every single boss, and I've got all 20 of the skidoo trees, and basically I've done everything I possibly could do in that game, and now I'm on the final boss, and he's literally like a wall I just can't get past. Which is a bit frustrating, but literally there's nothing else for me to do. I've literally opened the whole map up and everything, so I was like, ugh. so so I'm like, yeah, it's a bit frustrating.
You got one option left if you had to, right? And that's you're all alone on Xbox, right? You're like a little rock in the ocean, right? A little tiny island in the ocean around you of PlayStation players. If you wanted to, you could hit the button, come over to the PlayStation side. You'd have to start from scratch, but then anytime you get stuck, you know it's just a phone call away. Me or Spence could come in and help. I'm not saying we'd be able to beat him, because he kicked mine and Spencer's ass in co-op, but we could give it a go. We could try it. The only problem is you'd have to put 200 hours aside to be able to get back to this point again. So there is that.
I mean, if there's any game I'd be willing to spend another 200 hours on, it'd probably be this one, to be fair. It is bloody brilliant.
Yeah. It is bloody brilliant.
But yeah, and also to have to buy the game again and the DLC again as well. There is that.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, another £100 down. But you'd have the potential of earning a platinum rather than your useless points that you get over there, which no one cares about. So, there is that advantage to it as well. But let's move it on from Elden Ring. I got a couple of games I could talk about here. But the one I'm going to come to first is I'm going to lead you on a little bit of a wild tale, right? Me and Spence, we were up late. We were playing a game, and I'm sure that we'll come on to that in a moment, because both me and Phil and Spence were playing it. We were playing it, and we then finished for the night, and we were like, oh, right, what should we do? And then I was like, I'm going to have a look on the sale on the PlayStation store, because the last time I did this, I found a little gem, which was called, there's a genie in my Szechuan sauce. So I filtered the store by the cheapest, and I wanted to scroll down to find a decent game. And I found a game, I was scrolling through all these different games, and I came upon one called Barry the Bunny. And immediately I thought, right, this is a little bit of me. He's called Barry. He's a bunny, right? £1.19 he was, Barry the Bunny. And I thought, fuck me, this is going to be terrible. But it gave me something to talk about on the show. Got into it. To my surprise, only a fucking great little game, this. Barry the Bunny, right? On Steam, it's rated as like an 8 out of 10 on there, on Steam ratings and stuff. It's actually fucking great. It's a little platformer that can get quite challenging, really simple. It's all you got to do is you collect pieces of wood around the map, and then you go and build a bridge. You need 3 pieces of wood to go and build a little bridge for a bunny to go across. And that is it. That is the game. And all you're doing is avoiding stuff, and you get little power-ups that, in the end, on 3 power-ups up, you get a little sunglasses on for Barry the Bunny, and then you could take 2 extra hits before you die. Really quick little bite-sized levels that will be perfect for a child, but are actually do get quite challenging. There's 100 levels, but to earn the Platinum Trophy, you only have to complete 26 of those levels. And guys, I'm glad to say, an hour or so of playing the game later, I earned myself a Platinum Trophy. Ooh, that's a Platinum. Barry the Bunny, baby. Platinum 124. In the bag. What a great little game this was.
I bet you're very, very proud of that platinum. This is what's called pay to win, isn't it? Where you pay a certain amount of money, you pay a nominal fee, and you get something in return that you can kind of show off with. Now, getting to level 26 out of 100 levels doesn't feel like a platinum achievement to me.
No.
A platinum achievement in most games is do everything and then do everything again on hard mode or something like that. That feels more like an achievement, but to level 26... So you guys shit out an Elden Ring, and now you've got to level 26 and you've picked a £1.59 trophy.
Excuse me, I didn't shit out on Elden Ring, thank you very much. And I will say, and I suppose this is the biggest praise I can give Barry the Bunny, is that after I achieved the Platinum Trophy, I continued to play it. I didn't stop. Normally, you'd think that it would be something that you close down, delete, gone. It's still on there. It's still on the PlayStation. I got to level 40 and called it a night. And it's one of those things now that I could be like, say to Cass, oh, have a go on this. It's actually good. So normally with this kind of stuff, like Genie in my Szechuan sauce, I would say don't buy it, right? It's just terrible. There's no audience for this. It's just there for a laugh. Barry the Bunny, I actually would recommend to people. Like £1.20, you can do a lot worse. Trust me. This was actually a good little find. So I'll keep on going for this. Every time the moment strikes and I find a cheap little game, I'm going to run the gambit with it, and we could get lucky, and we get a Barry the Bunny, or we could get There's a Genie in My Szechuan Sauce. Well, the best thing about it was the theme tune. And that's all you're going to get, right? It's going to be one of those two things. But, Lewis, if you're looking for a cheapy little platinum, this is one for you, my friend. Platinum in an hour.
I mean, I'm not going to judge you on your platinum. I'll explain in a minute when I get to my second game. But yeah, this sounds interesting. So is this like a puzzle game or like a platformer? So you said you're going to make bridges. So is it like Lemmings when the bunny goes across the bridge automatically, or you have to control the bunny?
No. The bunny goes across it auto. So all that happens is that across the level, there'll be loads of different obstacles in your way. So it might be spikes, it might be other enemies, things like that. And you can avoid them or you can kill the enemies by throwing different consumables at them. And after you get your 3 pieces of wood, you just got to go back to wherever the bunny was. A bridge auto builds if you've got all 3, and the bunny auto runs along it to his house. Nothing can kill the little bunny. He's totally cool. He's living his life. At least in 40 levels, nothing's killed him. And so you're good to go. But yeah, really, really simple, but just mechanically sound. It's got little short jumps that you need to be able to master. There's quite a bit of like, Spike will fall down and you've got to like short hop to like avoid it, to then do a full hop to avoid the next obstacle that's on your path. It's like really simple Mario, but really good. It's just fun. It's really fun. But you're mainly there for the platinum, guys. That's the main reason you're there. But let's move it on. Let's move it on to our second game. Phil, back round to you. I want to hear what else you've been doing.
Okie doke. And this one's less about the game, more about how I played the game. Because I haven't really got a lot to report on Helldivers 2. We've kind of sporadically been playing off and on, but ultimately we've not really spent enough time in there. Hint, hint, we need to play Helldivers more and more. But I did boot it up while I was away on business. Lewis, get ready with your MPS We Trust soundboard, because I was on my travels once again, and I was over in Amsterdam this time round. And I thought, we're better than to test the PS Portal for the remote access, and let's play something that's a little bit more challenging than just Dave the Diver, because I did a bit of Dave the Diver, and I must say it was perfect. 0 problems. So I thought, let's step it up a little bit, and let's do something a bit more graphically intense. Helldivers ticks that box. And let's do something that's going to challenge it online. And now that's the grey area that everyone's a little worried about when playing remote access, when playing on the PS Portal. Now, luckily, when I logged on, and this was after a couple of pints around around city centre of Amsterdam, less said about that, the better, Lewis was online. So I said to him, do you want to jump on? We'll have a quick game of Helldivers 2, and let's see what happens. And I have to say, it was quite a pleasant experience. Quite being the optimum word there, okay? Now, I was in a hotel on Wi-Fi, and it was extremely stable. I was surprised. Most hotels that I stay in, generally, they're all right. They're like mid-level. But this one, for whatever reason, I must be speaking to the right people in work, I was staying in the Hilton. So I had a good hotel. The Wi-Fi was class. Shout out Hilton Hotels over in the Dam, because they did me proud. The Wi-Fi was great. Anything I wanted to do within the game, it just worked. And it worked well. We only played for a short time, but for the time we played, I have to say, it was playable. Okay? It wasn't perfect. Now, I'm saying it wasn't operating on 100%, probably like an 80 or a 90. It felt slightly slower. But I was in a fucking other country, on a PS Portal, talking to Lewis, which I was, because there's a built-in microphone within the PS Portal, and we were able to play, not a high level of Helldivers 2, but we were able to play a game of Helldivers 2, and it was entertaining. Now, I know the PS Portal isn't built for FPS games, but I just thought it was a good test. And it was an interesting test. Do I think it passed it? Probably not. I don't think you could competitively play on a PS Portal in a different country an FPS. It didn't work to that level. But I think anything lower than that, I think the PS Portal is perfect. I really do.
Okay. Well, Lewis, I'd love to hear, you were there playing with the PlayStation Portal player. Did you notice anything there? Did you notice any, like, he's like darting around a little bit, like a bit of lag, or anything at all?
No, honestly, I didn't notice any difference whatsoever. You sounded the same. I mean, you were a little drunk, but I mean, apart from that, it felt like I was just playing like a normal game of Helldivers with you, to be honest. I didn't really notice any difference. Me and you just decided to do the objective, and some person joined our game who was really pissed off because we completed the mission without, like, he's like, don't finish the mission, don't finish the mission. And me and Phil just went in the ship and flew off, and he was really pissed off. But apart from that, it was it was a pretty fun experience. We were really on a low level, weren't we? I think we were on level 3 difficulty, I think it was.
We phoned it in because I was, as Lewis mentioned, quite drunk at the time. But I thought I have to test it. I'm in Amsterdam. I've got my PS Portal. Because of my work commitments, I couldn't do it when I was sober because I went straight out after work and enjoyed Amsterdam. So I thought, when I get back, I've just got to do it. I've got to do it. Whoever's online, I'm just going to jump into a game. I was just going to jump in solo and see what it was like. And I loved, and Davey fell for my bait, actually, because I posted a bunch of photos on Twitter on purpose of me stood in the lobby. And straight back, of course, oh, you're just in the lobby. Oh, I bet that's amazing. Second photo was in game. The next post, boom, take that. But as Lewis said, it was a lower level, just so we could actually complete it. But yeah, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. Just bear that in mind.
Did you have? I mean, I don't know if you ever played remote play on your phone or anything. But the thing I always notice when it's on remote play is the latency. I just notice straight away. Like, even if it's a couple of frames out, you really feel it. Like, it just doesn't feel right. It's quite hard to describe because you can still control it and you can still do okay, but it kind of feels like muddy. Is that how it felt?
Yeah, 100%. Because we were online and there was other players, there was other stuff going on, and I would have said, Helldivers is a fairly graphically intensive game. It's no Dave the Diver. We're full 3D models. There's lots of action going on. And you're right. When I said it felt slow, probably saying that it felt muddy is a better way of explaining it. Really, it didn't feel that perfect experience that I would have if I was sat in front of my PS5 at home in Bristol.
I think what I'm going to have to do, if you don't mind, and I promise I won't smash it, because I'm actually intrigued now. You know that I'm warming up to this thing, right? And I got to know now. Next time we're all kind of going away or we're doing something in this hotel, bring it with, and if I can feel it and see what it is, because if it's only like, if you were saying like an 80, 90, I could probably make do with that. Like, that wouldn't be too bad. But if it's how I feel it's going to go, and it's like when I played remote play, then I think that would be kind of the breaking point. And I think it's one of those things that's quite hard to be able to describe or to take, because I think we've all got a certain level, like a certain bar that we'll be able to take it. Like, I know that Spence would not be able to take any. Like, even if it's remotely, like even the tiniest bit, like a 98% experience, he'd be like, no, it just doesn't feel right. Whereas for me, I've got like a more, my bar's a little bit lower than that, but I don't know how low, So I think the next time we all go away, I wouldn't mind having a go. But I'm getting more and more intrigued, Phil, and this is not good for my bank account balance because we got rumors of PS5 Pro coming out later on this year, and I'm also really tempted to push the button on a PlayStation Edge right now. So I'm like, there's a lot of expense that's coming out, and I'm thinking, fuck me, I could do without spending a 200 quid on this fucking device as well. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. But glad to hear the report, my friend. I've been looking forward to hearing about that. Lewis, let's bring it around to your final game that you're going to discuss today.
Yeah, before I talk about my final game, I just wanted to mention as well, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Helldivers at the moment. I was that close to the platinum, and they keep moving the goalposts, and now I'm really... you have to get level 3 on your ship things, which I'm at now, to get the platinum originally, and now it's level 5, which is going to take me like another 6-7 hours of play. So I'm really pissed off at Helldivers because I'm like, I want the platinum, I deserve the platinum. I've done just as much as work as you and Spencer to get the platinum, and you've both got the platinum and I don't. So I'm really annoyed. Apart from that, love the game, but I'm a bit pissed off.
The difference is, my friend, you're a part-time defender of Super Earth. Whereas me and Spence, we put 300 odd hours in the space of the first couple of months. And that's what Super Earth demanded. If you're coming in, you're sitting there playing your little fucking Xbox bollocks, and then you think, oh, I'll play a little bit of Helldivers just so I can feel some joy again in my life, I'm afraid it's just not enough for Super Earth, and you just don't deserve the Platinum Trophy. And I'm really glad that Arrowhead must be studying your stats And they're thinking, how many hours away is he now? He said, probably about 30 minutes. Put it in. Hit the button. Put it up again to level 5. And I appreciate you, Arrowhead, because you're gatekeeping him. You're gatekeeping him from the platinum. I like it.
They're just screwing with me, I swear. I swear they're screwing with me, I swear. Bastards. You bastards! This is I'm not giving you my game of the year because of this, you bastards. But there you go. But yeah, no, I still really enjoy Helldivers 2. I just wish I wish I had the platinum. I'm just annoyed that I still haven't got it. It's just torn to me now. But yeah, the other game I've been playing, a game called Geometry Survivor. 2022, one of our game of the years was Vampire Survivors. Have you heard of Vampire Survivors? It's
yes, yeah.
Automatic, but it's like a reverse bullet hell automatic shooter game. And it's not on PlayStation yet, but it is coming to PlayStation soon with a platinum trophy, which I am sure I'm going to get that platinum trophy because I love that game and I will double dip into it. But I wanted something like that to play on my PlayStation, and I just basically looked up Survivor games on PlayStation. I found Geometry Survivor, which is essentially Vampire Survivor crossed with Geometry Wars. So it's like all arcade art style. It's really pretty and all that, and basically you get a trophy for every minute of survival you do. So if you survive 20 minutes, you get a platinum trophy. So I have a platinum.
Ooh, that's a platinum.
Because I'm cracked, and I did it literally within like 20 minutes of getting the game because I'm cracked and I'm just really good at those type of games because I've played a lot of Vampire Survivor. But it is a doable platinum if people are interested.
How much did it set you back?
Such a fun game.
This little gem.
It was only like £4. It wasn't that expensive, and I'm still playing it even though I got the platinum. So I love those type of games. So
Davey is literally downloading it from his phone right now. 20 minutes to get a platinum. £4, you said? Tick, tick. Get in my basket.
I can't. Whatever platinum 125 is got to be a nice one. You know, I can't have a little shit throwaway one for my 125th. So I'll double check my list of platinums because if I breach 125, then we're good. We're on the path to 150 then, so we're absolutely good. But if not, then I'm gonna have to earn one, and I don't know what it's gonna be just yet.
And it's not one of those games that where it's not like what My Name Is Mayo or whatever. Where you just click a button over and over and over again. It is slightly challenging, so you will have to get pretty good at the game to get it. But as I said, I'm cracked at these type of games because I play them a lot, so I got it straight away. But you got to survive 20 minutes in a non-stop like survival. So you got to survive for 20 minutes in the zone with all different stuff shooting at you and stuff like that. So if you've ever played Geometry Wars, it's that. You just got to try and escape the asteroids and the ships that are attacking you. And it's really fun. I really enjoy it. And I'm still playing it, even though I got the platinum. So it's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's doable to get the platinum in 20 minutes. But I'd say for the average person, it'd probably take about an hour or two if you need to get some, like, level up and get some practice on it. So yeah, I recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
I didn't actually know this game, Lewis, so I've just Googled it there when you were talking. Geometry Survivor is a roguelike auto shooter where you must survive 20 minutes, okay, says the Wikipedia, where you fight against waves of geometry ships, defeat their formations, and survive. So it does sound like a very interesting game, and I've just looked on the image section, and my God, this game is beautiful. It is reminiscent of the games I used to play on my Vex tracks when I used to have to put the little bit of plastic color over the screen to change the graphics to a different color. And this game looks as if it just does that, and does that with the power of the PlayStation or the Xbox. Wow, this is the future that I was dreaming about when I was playing my Vex tracks, because it looks very, very similar. You know, you've got all these very simplistic sprites floating around the screen, but I can imagine it's elevated, Lewis, from maybe my Vex tracks level of graphically intensive sprites, maybe 3 or 4 probably. I don't even know the level of sprites that you would get on a Vex tracks, but there seems to be a lot going on the screen, a lot to keep your interest. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, it's very visually appealing. It's one of those games that's a lot of Yeah, it's just lots and lots of ships flying around, lots of like particles, and it just lights up and everything. I mean, I'm a massive fan of games like Asteroids and Space Invaders and stuff like that, and like Galaga. So it's just like I've wanted to play something like that, and I wanted. Essentially, as I said, I'm a massive fan of Vampire Survivors, so I was like trying to find something similar on PlayStation. I also bought Hot Potato. I think it's called Hot Potato, something like that, which is also very similar. But I think Geometry Survivor is a better game, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, I can see why you like it, because I'm just looking at the ratings, and it is a 7 out of 10. That's usually the games you gravitate towards, isn't it, Lewis? A 7 out of 10. Would you give it a 7 out of 10? Would you rate it higher?
No, 7 out of 10 sounds about right. I knew you were gonna. Yeah. I like space. What?
I appreciate that one. I appreciate that one a lot. That was really good. That was a great one. That was a great one.
This is what you get, Lewis.
I like space.
You come on our show, you help us out, and all we do is punch down.
Yeah, all the time.
It's what you'd expect.
Well, speaking of punching down, the final game, we had an absolute friggin' nightmare, didn't we, Phil? An absolute nightmare. So we had, I don't even know how this really came up. I think we were just looking for games to play on like a Thursday night or something. And so we thought, oh, what's come out in like our PlayStation Plus catalogs over recent years? What is there that we can really dig into? And so we downloaded a couple of different games that are certainly not in our normal wheelhouse. We downloaded FC 24 and NHL 24. So we wanted to see what all the crack was about these sports games. And I'm going to start off here with NHL 24. Phil, I don't think I've ever had my ass kicked as badly as we did in NHL 24. And what makes it worse, listener, is the reason why we wanted to get onto this was because the Cardiff Devils were in there, or so Spence told us last time. I can confirm that no, they are not. Basically, what happens is whoever wins the championship for like the UK League goes into the next NHL game. And last year, it was the Belfast Giants. So no Cardiff Devils in there. Boo. Fucking Belfast. Who gives a fuck about Belfast? Apparently they got a cracked ice hockey team. Jesus, who would have known that? Like nobody in the world would know that Belfast cracked at ice hockey apparently. But here we are, the Northern Irish kicking our ass yet again. Phil, we went in, there was trio mode, so we went in all together on the same team. I think we got probably pitted against the best NHL players ever known to man. Because do you remember what the score was?
Oh, 100%, mate. They were esports level players, weren't they? That's what I thought. Anyway, when I googled them afterwards, they play at NHL all around the world. They're big names. They're as big as like Faker or any of the big esports players. They're massive. They're bringing in millions, mate. We stood no chance. But one little comment before. And you guys should have been better. You guys should have stepped up because you played a lot more than I played. So I got dumped in when we were playing online straight away. So that was my first real match. I had a little bit of the training, but that was my first proper game of ice hockey on NHL 24. And I was slightly delayed because it was 44 gigabytes to download. That's the sacrifice I went through to join you within this game. And then what happened? We got smashed up. What was it, 14-0?
15, I think. I think they scored in the final second, yeah. 15-0.
15-0.
They started coming, those goals, and they just did not stop, did they? I think our keeper was just fucking useless. And we were playing as like one of the best teams in the world. We were playing as the... who were we even playing again? We were playing
Oilers?
No, I think we were playing as New York. I think the Rangers. I think we were playing as. And oh my God, I've seen the Rangers play and they didn't play anything like we did. We were fucking useless. I couldn't tell who I was. I had to go into the accessibility settings and change it so that my little circle underneath my character was super bright. So my guy was a luminous red, essentially, before I knew who I was. Completely going offside all the time. I was goal hanging. I don't even know how the offside rule works in ice hockey. And also, it doesn't help that we don't know how to play ice hockey. So anything that was happening, we were like, why is this? Why am I now? The only thing we were good at was the fights. We won every single fight. We beat the shit out of their players every time. We had half our team in the sin bin. We got fucking wrecked. We got destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. And fortunately, we then decided, let's play a sport we know. Let's go on to FC24. And one thing I'll tell you, for somebody who's not played FIFA or any of the FIFA games since, and I mean, this isn't even the same series, but the last football game I played properly was PES, right? Pro Evolution Soccer back on PS2. So it's been a hell of a long time. The menu system for FC24 has got to be the most confusing thing if you're brand new in. We couldn't find where anything was. All we wanted to do was just play online together as a three-way, and it took us a shitload of Googling. We had to create a club. We had to create players. We had to do all this nonsense before the three of us could play in A mode. You couldn't play 2-on-1. You couldn't play two people on one team, one person on the other. Couldn't do anything like that. We had to all be together in a club to play, and then we got put with other random players who were also in our team. And we won every game of that, but I don't think it was down to us, because most of it was just whoever got the ball that we were playing with. We were all trying to stick in our kind of positions and kind of play football, and there was just this one guy who must have max stats on everything, who was trying to do the entire team. He was playing from like centre-back, just running all the way through and just trying to do everyone. And he kept on losing the ball over and over and over again. But he eventually got a couple of goals in, this guy. And we were just, I think we touched the ball twice, I think, out of 2 entire games. It was the most boring fucking thing ever. But I did enjoy it a lot more than NHL. I don't know what your thoughts were on FC24.
Well, a win's a win, mate. And I played the Mo Salah position, right? I was sort of on the right wing, pushing forward, and I was running into space, trying to get behind that defence, and every opportunity just went begging, because he just didn't notice my runs. He did nothing. He didn't see the pictures I was trying to create for him. I was like, mate, I'm running through, top G's on the ball, let's go. No, completely ignored me every single time. I think I had like 1 or 2 crosses into the box. That's all I was able to do within that game. But hey, we got carried, and yeah, it felt better than the ice hockey. So potentially we might jump back in and have another game of soccer at some stage. I don't know.
Well, what's crazy is that me and Spence have now been playing FIFA. We've played every day now.
No way.
We have every day. We keep on running back Newport County versus Cardiff City. And we keep running it back all the time. And it's surprisingly close. I think there's like 1 stat difference between the two teams. I think like Newport County's at a 69, Cardiff's at a 70, even though they're a league apart. Yeah, it's wild how close they get. So we had a game earlier while I was on lunch and work, and it started off. Spence scored 2 little blinder goals. Newport County. I bring it back, so it's 3-2. It's the most nail biting game ever, and it was literally just neck and neck. These two teams, fouls all over the place. Players getting sent off. As soon as somebody's making a run, they just get red carded immediately because they just foul them, take them down, get an injury. You got to hope for an injury. You want to get their player sent off. That's what you're hoping for. And it's gotten really close. And I got to admit, Newport County at the moment looking like they should be in the championship because they're beating Cardiff City most days. But we did just learn after like 5 nights of playing it how to properly tackle. So apparently there's a bit of skill here in SC24. Took us a long time to go in onto the controls and then realizing, circles tackle. So yeah, we are not good at this game at all.
You can also slide tackle.
We know slide tackle. We figured out slide tackle straight away, but we didn't realize there was a normal tackle in circle. So I'm sure that Spencer will keep you up to date for how our FC24 is going and how he's cracked on the sticks, because apparently Newport County going all the way to the Premiership at the moment.
I was going to say, I'll have to play you guys on there, and I'll be Wrexham, I guess, because they're about the same level. Played that last night as did Spain versus England, and I won 9-1 for Spain. So I kind of predicted what was going to happen, but it was a bit more drastic than what actually happened in the actual match. But yeah, so I've been playing it as well recently. So yeah, we'll have to play some games. It's on PlayStation Plus, right?
It certainly is.
I'll have to download it. We'll play some games.
It's probably not that fair if we all choose our teams, though, is it? Because I support a Premiership team. And Lewis supports a Premiership team, and his team is a lot worse than mine. So if you want to run back, Liverpool versus Man United, you're a mid-table team. We're in the top 4. So, I'll have to go a bit easy on you when we play, Lewis, but I'd be up for a match.
I'd be up for seeing how well Cardiff and Newport do against the big boys. I reckon, and if we win, that there is no excuse for you guys. That would be an absolute fucking nightmare, wouldn't it, if they lost? But we'll see. We'll wait and see. And listeners, I really want to know what tips you can give for FC24, because we literally start from the bottom. We just learned how to tackle, right? Nothing's off the table. Literally anything. Just comment it below, and I'm sure it's a button that I don't already know. But let's move it on to quick news. Quick news.
Quick news. Welcome, listeners. Welcome, viewers. You have made it through to quick news. And let me thank you for spending the half an hour, probably after editing, maybe a little bit longer with us. And you got through to, in my opinion, the best part of the show. This is quick news, where we like to have a little bit of a laugh, like to put each other under a little bit of a pressure while playing word association. Now, this time round, we've got Lewis joining us instead of Spencer. So for Lewis's benefit, and for anyone that's new to the podcast, we're going to go round in the order of Lewis, Davey, myself, and I'm going to give you a subject, and then you're gonna give me a word that's associated to that subject, and then we're going to go around. If you hesitate, or if you get it wrong, or you repeat it, and it goes throughout the whole round of quick news, okay? So you've got to remember the stuff from the start, and then, it gets a little tricky, as we found out last episode. Davey, for some reason, kept saying, what was it, yellow or Wellington boots? Yellow, because I kept saying Wellington boots after you said yellow. And rubber, yes, exactly, rubber, that came up multiple times. If those things happen, then you're penalised, right? And then you have to give us your quick news. Now, the shots aren't stacking, as always. This is something we've learned from the last 10 episodes, because we got extremely drunk on the last blowout. So for episode 100, we're only adding 1 shot to the dock, and that's very, very important for this quick news, okay? So we're going to do a round of word association. Lewis, are you ready? Give me the nod.
Can I just ask, before we begin, because Spence shit out on the last big quiz and he didn't take all his shots, can we say that Lewis is playing for Spence so that he's still not going to lose out? I think that's fair, right?
I think that's fair, because otherwise Spencer's going to, become a little ill every time we start to record a podcast. Oh, I've got a bit of a cough. Oh, my missus is down. Oh, you got problems. Nah. He's just avoiding the shots, isn't he? We've seen through him this time round. So if Lewis, you fail and you lose quick news, we're going to put a shot in the dock for Spencer, okay? But don't do it on purpose. You've got to play for Spencer as Spencer, okay?
I'm cracked. Let's go.
Sounds very like Spencer, to be fair. Now, your starting word, Lewis, is zombie.
Dead.
Alive.
Jesus Christ.
Superstar.
WWE.
Ric Flair.
Woo!
Whoa. Close, right?
I don't think any of that counts. We can't just have sounds. Definitely not. Lewis, that's you've lost that. It's word association. It's not sound association. So that's one point. 1 point. It's not in the Oxford Dictionary. I'm not accepting it. So that's 1 shot against you and 1 shot against Spencer. And we haven't set this up, Spencer, if you are listening. Now, Lewis, I'm going to come over to you for your first quick news of this evening.
Right, okay. So it's good that you've got me here, because Xbox have shot themselves in the foot again. They've stood on a rake and smacked themselves in the face. They have put the price of Game Pass up, and everyone is outraged, except for me, because I think it's only £2 and who gives a flying fuck. But apparently, everyone is very angry. So, Game Pass has gone up by £2 for the Ultimate tier, and is gone up by, it's just gone up by £2 for the PC version and for the core version as well. And they have also added a new tier, which removes day one games. But that is a replacement for console Game Pass, which never made any sense to me anyway, because you would pay the same price and it didn't have online with it, so it was pointless. So this actually makes more sense, because now you have online and you have the catalogue, but just not new games. So I actually think this is a good thing, apart from obviously I don't want to pay more money, but, everything goes up in price. But what do you guys think?
Well, I think this is something that I wasn't sure why there was so much outrage with this, right? Because the price of everything, like you say, it goes up, right? Like, I just have to look at my gas bill or my fucking mortgage or anything. Like, I look at the price for Amazon just went up, and they added in for Prime adverts now. So you got to pay an extra $2.99 extra to be able to get the same service I had before without the adverts, which it never had before, right? So they're always going to be doing this, and I don't think the price alone is the big like make or break. Like, if you can't find £2, if that's the difference between you canceling a subscription service, you've probably got bigger problems, right? Like, £2 a month is not a big deal. The thing though, and I had to reach out on Twitter for this to try and understand why there is more, what was the kind of nuance behind this. And the thing that came back to me loud and clear from the audience is that people were saying that it's just grim that they're getting rid of like the day one games for that kind of middle tier. And that was the big reason for the outrage, because it now makes things a little bit muddier on the Xbox side when it comes to, before they'd be like, come into Game Pass, whereas now they have to specify coming to Game Pass Ultimate day one, or coming to PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, right? As opposed to just saying Game Pass overall. And I think that's where people's mind is. But for me personally, I can't feel any way about it. I can't feel outraged by this. I think if you're going to buy into this ecosystem, you're going to get Game Pass, why wouldn't you get Ultimate anyway? You know, it's a few quid extra and it gives you so many more benefits. I don't see what the issue is here. And I've seen people arguing online from like different PlayStation places where they said like, well, now PlayStation Plus is the better value proposition. And I suppose, yeah, if you compare the middle tier of PlayStation Plus, if you compare, say if we do an apples to apples comparison, we compare PlayStation Plus Extra to the middle tier of Xbox Game Pass, yeah, it's a way better value proposition. And you do get day one games in there as well. But I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And I think that if you're going to buy into this ecosystem, you'd go Ultimate anyway. Because the main purpose of you being there is for those like 4 titles a year that you get included as part of your subscription that aren't smaller titles, which are generally what are included in as part of PlayStation Plus Extra. They're your big hitters. That's going to be your Doom. That's going to be your Indiana Jones. It's going to be your Starfields, whatever it is, right? I personally don't see why there's so much hate for this. And to me, it feels like as if it's just a small echo chamber making it out like this is the end of the world when really it isn't. And it's obvious why this would happen, because Xbox are buying up everyone and no one's buying into the subscription. So you've got to make your money back somewhere, right? You have to. I don't think this muddies the waters anywhere near the level that people think it does. But Phil, I want to know your thoughts before we go back to the chief himself.
To be honest, Davey, all this subscription stuff always just boggles my mind. I don't understand the levels of PlayStation Plus, let alone all the different levels of Xbox. So I'm quite glad we've got Lewis on the show. Maybe Lewis, because there's going to be a bunch of different people, listening to our podcast. Obviously, you coming on, you do attract a few listeners from the Xbox side. But for the PlayStation loyalists that, have never ventured over to the Xbox side, could you briefly, and I mean relatively briefly, just describe what the certain levels are and what you get within those levels? Would I be able to pick your brains at that?
Of course, that's not a problem. I mean, that's a good reason you got me on here. So, I mean, I like PlayStation. There's 3 different tiers. On Xbox, you've got Core, which is essentially similar to what you used to have with the PlayStation Collection, where they have 25 of the best Xbox games, and you have Xbox Live, or the online, all combined into it. That's the cheapest package. Now, they used to have a middle tier, which was called Console, which would be essentially all your day one games, all the catalog and all that, but you wouldn't have access to online, which I always thought was weird. So you're paying more money than you do for the core, but don't have online service, which made no sense to me. So now they've replaced that with the new tier, which I can't remember what's it called? Core. No, it's not called Core. That's the other one. It's called Core. Standard. Why the name is always annoying, but Standard essentially has all the catalog plus you have online. which is what you would want anyway, I'd imagine. Like, why would you want to get Call of Duty Day 1 but not being able to go online with it? Doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, that's essentially the big change, is instead of having just the catalogue with no internet, you now have the catalogue but none of the new games, but you still have internet. And then you have the Ultimate tier, which gives you PC, Xbox, EA Play, cloud streaming. Essentially, it's everything you want, and it's like £2 more. So you might as well upgrade to the Ultimate. I do feel like the reason for this is because Call of Duty is coming to Game Pass, and this is them wanting you to, if you're going to buy Game Pass to play Call of Duty, they want you to pay the full price for it and not skimp out and get the cheap package. I think that's what this whole thing is about, to be honest. And I'm not that fussed. I think it makes sense. This tier system makes more sense than what it did before, to be honest.
Makes a bit more clearer now. Now you've explained it and just touched on a few of the more finer details within it that maybe, PlayStation loyalists such as myself would probably miss with it. But you're very much selling the sort of top package. I'm assuming that's what you're on as an Xbox sort of, player and representative coming over to the PlayStation side to kind of sell your wares, if you like. What price does that come in? Is it comparable to the top tier within PlayStation?
Yeah, so the Ultimate tier, so that's, you get everything, PC, Game Pass, regular Game Pass and all that, and the EA Play is £15 a month, and it was £13 a month, but now it's gone up to £15. So I'm not sure how much PlayStation's highest tier is, but it's pretty close if I remember. If you want, should I look that up for you? I'm not actually sure.
It's okay. I'm sure Davey's going to jump in now because I believe that's the subscription he's on. But yeah, it seems reasonable, that price, especially for the amount of things that you're getting with that subscription. But just one more question before I'll let you either answer Davey's question or maybe you want to jump straight in with that price. Do you take advantage of everything within the service? Or is it part of that service which you think, maybe I don't really use that could be omitted, I only use this specific part? Or do you find yourself, trialing everything within that more elite service that you subscribe to?
I mean, for me personally, I use it all. I've got the ROG Ally. I actually use the PC Game Pass quite a lot now. I didn't used to, but having access to PC games is the same. Being able to play my games on Xbox and on my PC and being able to go cross-saving between the two is great. And being able to access stuff on the cloud, be able to do what you've been doing with the PlayStation Portal, like, playing my games on the move is a great little feature as well. I always use all. Yeah, I'm one of the biggest shills for Game Pass Ultimate you'll get because I absolutely adore it. As I said in the other podcast, don't tell Xbox, but I would probably pay another £10 on top of that for what I would pay like a lot more for it because I think it's a very, very good service. But don't tell Xbox, please, because I don't want them increasing it anymore.
I think that the price now if we compare them. So PlayStation Plus Premium comes in at £119.99. So you're talking a £60 difference there, £60 cheaper. And I suppose the bigger question now, which Xbox has kind of put themselves under a little bit, which they never had to worry about before, is that with the middle tier, we're often saying on the show that like PlayStation Extra is probably the best value, right? Because it's £100 a year, $99.99. And with that, you don't gain access to the back catalogue of classics and you don't get access to the game trials, but everything else is pretty much there, right? So we always think the kind of middle's the best, but if you really want to have some of those classic experiences, Premium's there for you, and that's an option. This is the muddy water that Xbox are going to walk themselves into now, because the difference in the pricing between those two tiers is going to be, for Ultimate, it's only going to be worth it if you've got good quality games that are coming out across that calendar year that you have that subscription service for. And not talking about, well, I suppose we have to look at the past to be able to look at the future for Xbox. And unfortunately for Xbox, they promise a lot and they don't deliver, right? They just don't deliver. Hellblade this year coming out, middling reviews, not really done very well, not been sold anywhere, not done well at all. Starfield, very much mixed reception, great sales, did very, very well, but middling reception again. They haven't really had, so far this generation, a game which has stood its own in terms of like the quality that you would probably expect to come from Xbox. Now, you think if you get a year where all the games they promise come out and you get 4 or 5 top quality games, that price difference is definitely apparent and it's worth its weight in gold then. You know, like if this year now, if Indie does come out, if Doom comes out at the start of next year, if Avowed comes out, if all these games come out and they're good, then you think, right, well, I've easily made back the price difference between these two tiers. If, however, you have a year like they had a couple of years ago, where they had two games come out, one of them being Redfall, you could then go sour on this quite quick and maybe find yourself in a position to want to downgrade. And I think last time, or all the way up since Xbox's kind of inception of Game Pass, they've never had to really worry about that kind of optic. Whereas now, I think that's something they're really going to have to consider when they're looking at the adding value for the user in for Game Pass. Because you could give away games left, right, and center, but they're all shit. No one cares, right? So I think now they've got to really answer to their subscribers in a way that they never had to before. I don't know how you feel about that, Lewis.
I was actually going to bring up this exact point. So you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Is essentially now they have to justify the day one thing. They need to have a consistent. They've been saying for years they want to have a game every quarter. They want to have a consistent lineup of games, and they've not really quite hit that stride still. This year they've announced there's going to be 10 first party games, and we've had one so far with Hellblade, as you said, which didn't set the world on fire. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun game, but it was only like a 4-hour experience, so it's like it hasn't really justified the day one purchase. But we are getting Call of Duty, as you said, we're getting Doom, Indiana Jones, Avowed. I mean, they do have other things. The issue I have with Xbox is that they seem to forget that there's 12 months in a year. They seem to forget the first 6 months of the year exist. They seem to always release everything around November, December time. Yeah, I mean, it's January, I'm bored. Can you release a game, please? Like, why are you releasing everything at the same time? Like, there's literally like another 4 or 5 games coming out this year, and we're in July, and we don't know when they're coming out yet. Like, we haven't got dates for Avowed, we haven't got dates for Indiana Jones. We know when Call of Duty's coming, but that's like, you know, that's like, we know that comes out every year. This around the same time, but it's just like it's all going to be squashed in like 3 months at the end of the year when you could have spread it out a bit better. And that is a problem with Xbox they need to fix. And as you said, it makes I was saying if I was a bit tight on cash at some point, I would downgrade to the middle tier because if there's no big games coming out, then why not? You know, it kind of makes sense that. And now they have to, as you said, they have to justify their day one thing, and I totally agree with you. And I totally agree that the middle tier for PlayStation is the right tier as well, because that's the one I'm subscribed to, and I think that makes sense, honestly. Unless you've got a PC, unless you play a lot of cloud gaming, then... if you're not interested in day one games and you just go with the middle tier, I mean, it makes sense. I think it's a good value proposition anyway. Even if you just go through the back catalogue. But it does put them in a difficult position. They need to keep hitting banger after banger now. There's no more excuses. You've put yourself in a difficult position here. They've put themselves in a position they didn't need to put themselves in, and now they're going to have to hit it out the park. You're totally right, Davey. That's literally a thing I was going to bring up. So you nailed it.
Just to jump in there, Lewis, and forgive me if this is a dumbass, stupid question, but this is a PlayStation player over here asking an Xbox player, right? Could I not, say you said that Xbox released their games generally towards the end of the year, could I not just subscribe for the months that the game comes out that I really want to play? So if I really wanted to play indie and I've got a free month, and I think it's not me, because generally I take longer than a month to complete a game, so let's not go into that, Davey. I know where your mind's going already. But say I complete a game within a month, right? Could I just subscribe for the $15 or the £15 for the single month, play my Indiana Jones, and then hop scoot out of there and play my physical games after that?
No, you're exactly right. That's exactly the problem. That's exactly what the issue is here. They've made it. the main selling point of the top tier is the day one games. So if they don't have day one games for like if there's like a 3 or 4 month period, but they don't have anything decent day one, then why would anyone stay on the top tier unless they're a PC gamer as well as an Xbox gamer like me? But that's like a lot of people are either one or the other. They're not usually both, you know. So I feel like yeah, you if you're an Xbox gamer and you're not interested in any of the day one games and you only play on Xbox, then you might be better off just downgrading to the middle tier for a couple of months. And they need to justify your purchase. They need to justify your subscription. And you're totally right there, Phil. It's a totally valid point.
I think this is just an issue that all subscription services are facing at the moment, isn't it? You know, like, and it's always the same. It's like with Disney Plus, you know. And granted, there's not an awful lot. But say, for example, you're into Star Wars at the moment. You got a brand new Star Wars thing that's been going on. Or in a couple of months' time, we got the new Agatha series coming out. If you're a massive fan of WandaVision, you thought, I really want to see that, that might be a time to renew your subscription, watch that show, enjoy it, and then cancel. And I suppose this is the problem, is how they retain people. And unless they do something really clever, like the thing that I do with my PlayStation Plus Premium, the reason I stay with it isn't because of the cadence of classic games that come out. It's because when my subscription comes up, I can normally find a way to be able to get it a lot cheaper by, you know, using top-up cards or, you know, there's ways around it. So there are ways that they can retain players, but I suppose the proof is going to be in the pudding with COD, isn't it?
Yes.
If there's a big spike and then the following month it drops right down, you know they've got a problem, because then people aren't retaining it and they're playing the kind of game with it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now over the next, say, 6 months or a year, to see how the bar chart kind of moves. And the plan is, of course, like with all subscriptions, that they get you through the door and you don't cancel. And then you're there forever, right? And that's what they want. It'd be interesting to see how things move over the next year or so, and I'll be really looking forward to see it. But shall we move this on to the next piece of news, Phil?
Yeah, I think we've spent enough time on that, but it's always nice to take advantage of kind of Lewis's in-depth knowledge of Xbox when he's over on the show, because we like to have more of a fair, I was going to say fair fight, but it's never a fair fight. It's 2-on-1, whatever you say. But you know, a slightly more equal fight than all three of us just going, yeah, it's terrible over on Xbox. God, what are they doing? Terrible. So yeah, let's move it over. But thank you for your contribution on that one, Lewis. If you can give me your starting words, and we'll pop round on the word association. Davey through to myself, and then background.
Spain.
Tapas.
Prawns.
Fish.
Seafood.
Fish. No, you've just said fish twice.
Oh, he's
said
Ah, no. I'm terrible at this. Last time we played this, I think I got one wrong because I didn't hear Davies, and that's a technical issue. You can blame the technology on that one. But that one, I just stalled. Jesus Christ. Anyway, terrible. Mark me up.
To be fair, I wouldn't have known what to say after seafood. I was like, oh shit, where'd you go from there? I was like, oh.
Quick news. Okay, I got a nice little quick one here, guys. So actually staying true to what the show is. And this is an announcement of a brand new showcase that I wasn't aware of until only recently. So there is going to be a VR showcase. So it's called the VR Game Showcase. It's happening on August the 15th. If you're in the UK, it kicks off at 5 p.m. BST. And what they're announcing here is major announcements, 8+ VR studios and publishers, which are all included in a nice little YouTube video. I'll put the link into the description, probably won't. So just make sure to search VR Game Showcase. For me personally, I'm really looking forward to seeing a little bit more of Behemoth. That's the game for me that I really want to see even more of. I'm so in for it. But make sure to tune in August 15th and see what we got cooking. There's announcements in there for PSVR 2, PC VR, and MetaQuest. So there's going to be some good news from it, and I'm sure that we'll be covering it on the show after the showcase takes place. Now, Phil, let's move it on to you. But first, let's kick off my little bit here of word association. Internet.
Dial-up.
Fibre.
Shredded wheat.
Cereals.
Milk.
Spoon.
Weatherspoons.
Pub.
Beer.
Foster's.
Piss.
Leak.
Tap.
Bath.
Soap.
He's gone again.
Oh, he's
gone again. Soap. Well, the problem is we've played this so we've played this so often, and I'm just remembering things that we said last time when we went around the bathroom on a previous show. So I didn't want to go back round to exactly the same ones. I was trying to think of something that didn't relate to it, but of course Call of Duty, great one there, Lewis. But no, mark me down. I'm doing terrible this week. Jesus. I really wanted to stitch Spencer up, seeing as he's not here. So, right, we'll try harder on the next one. Quick news. So, guys, I've got a little bit of news that relates to PlayStation Studios collectible figures, okay? We're going to get them from a company called Spin Master, and its launches starting this August. So we're going to get a range of 6-inch officially licensed figures from PlayStation. We're going to start with a deluxe version of Aloy from Horizon Forbidden West, and that priced up at £48. The pre-order now, and it ships on the 15th of August. And also coming to the range, they have a core version. This is a slightly dumbed down version, okay? You don't get so many points of articulation, you don't get so many accessories with some of these other characters, which is quite strange, okay? So you get Varl from Horizon Forbidden West, that famous character that everyone loved. You get Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima. I can see that one working really well. And then you get a core Kratos, not a deluxe Kratos, which seemed confusing to me. And then you get a core Atreus. Maybe that works for me. And the core version, as I said, it's slightly dumbed down version, not as many articulation points, not as many accessories, okay? And they're all coming soon. So you've got to keep an eye on the PlayStation Shop or Amazon, okay? And those core versions, they're going to start to ship out in September. So if you're interested in them, I think mark your calendars for those dates ready to press purchase, because I think they're going to be in high demand because those figures look absolutely bloody beautiful. Now, guys, I'm not sure if you had time to have a look at the figures in depth, or if you're interested in any of these figures. Lewis, I'm going to come over to you. Obviously, you dip into PlayStation from time to time. I'm not sure if any of these characters are your favourite characters on PlayStation, but is there anything there that sort of interests you? Do you like buying figurines? Because, of course, we can't really see your room. We just get the blue behind you. I can see Davey's, and I know he's got a few figures. You can see behind me, I've got a glass cabinet full of figures. But for yourself, do you own figures? Do you like buying figures? Is that something that you do?
I have a lot of amiibos, mainly Super Smash Bros. Amiibos. I collected them a lot when Super Smash Bros. 4 came out on the Wii U, and I spent way too much money on them, so I try not to buy any more, to be honest. And it's more of a space thing. I don't really want to have some... I like collecting stuff, but then on the other hand, I don't really have the space for it. If I was going to get any of them, it'd probably be Jin Sakai, because Ghost of Tsushima is my favourite PlayStation, of those ones anyway, my favourite PlayStation game of those ones you listed. I mean, they sound cool. I haven't actually seen them, because I was about to look at the document, but I will do that in a minute. But yeah, that would probably be the one I would buy. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's always cool to have new collectibles, new merch stuff for your brand. I wish Xbox would do more stuff like this, because it sounds rad. I'm going to go have a look at them right now. Well, Davey, what do you think?
Yeah, do you know what? It's weird, is what I'm going to say. Is I like this a lot. I like the idea of it. And when I saw the price of them, it actually put me off quite a bit. Because if this was on the same level as a Kai Arts play, and you're talking like £100, shitloads of articulation, shitloads of accessories, I'd probably be in the mood for it. The Aloy one, you can see, is vastly better than the rest. Like, the box it comes in, it looks like a Play Arts Kai. It looks immense, actually, and that figure looks great. The issue is, would I spend £48 on that when I could spend maybe an extra £50 to £100 and get a nice looking statue? And I would rather just spend the money and get a nice looking statue. And this is the issue with a lot of these things. Like, the characters that are here, if I was to buy any of them at the moment, I would buy, same as yourself, Lewis, I'd buy the Jin Sakai. Because £30, I haven't seen a Ghost of Tsushima statue before. I'm all about it. Like, I would love to have some merch for Jin in there. Whereas Kratos, I've seen really high-end statues of Kratos, like really high-end, like 400 odd quid, and they're fucking amazing. And I wouldn't want to have a little shitty figure for £30 and put it anywhere that I care about it. You know, it would just be like a desk ornament. Compared to, if I wanted to do Kratos right, I'd want to have a big 400 quid piece. And it'd be like a kind of center of the room kind of thing. And that's why it feels a bit of a shame, because for me, Aloy's cool. You know, I like Horizon as much as the next guy. But I would much prefer it to be Kratos who gets the fucking big deluxe version. I don't know why it's Aloy. And Varl? Who the fuck cares about Varl? I didn't even remember his name, and I platinumed the fucking game. Why don't we have an Astrobot in there? A 30 quid little action figure for Astrobot would be sick. Like, that would be so nice. And you don't have to have, like, it is really, you know, he's a little computerized little model. So he could look really premium at 30 quid. He could look really nice. Whereas a lot of these figures, you can tell they're just a figure because they're based off people that are supposed to be realistic. If you had a Ratchet and Clank in here or an Astrobot, they would look really premium and really good at 30 quid. And I don't understand why this section of characters gets this treatment. I just don't get it.
I've got to agree with you, Dave, and echo literally everything you're saying there, because I thought the range was going to be a lot larger, and especially at that price point, because you're probably not looking to market towards us, okay? Because we generally would spend a bit more if we're going to have something sat on our shelves. Space is always a premium when we talk about literally buying anything these days. So if I'm going to have, you know, Aloy sitting on my shelf, much like you, I'd want to put down a little bit more money than, what was it, £48 for it. But if they chose, like, you know, your Ratchets and Clanks, as you were saying, if they were going to choose, you know, the characters that maybe appeal to the younger market, I could see that price point working. But I'm looking at games here that probably don't appeal to children. You know, the God of Wars, the Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon. Are they targeted at children that would afford the £30? Not really. So I don't know how successful this is going to be, but I have to be honest, I do kind of like the Aloy for 48. She is the best of the bunch. She really is. If I was going to buy any, it would be the Aloy.
Yeah. And she is, you can tell, like, that price difference is evident. Because the amount of stuff that you get with her, and you could really set her up to look really cool and you know, to look really dynamic, but then you just wouldn't want to put her next to Varl, because Varl will look like a piece of shit compared. So it's like she's just on her own anyway. You know, like, I could quite easily get her, and I've got my my Tremor Tusk up on the top of the shelf. You can't really see it in my camera, but I could swap out the little tiny figure that comes with that for Aloy, shows the size difference, and have a giant Aloy there. So it looks like maybe it's a little mini Tremor Tusk, which would be quite cool. But yeah, I mean, wait and see. The good thing is this is a starter range, so give it 6 months from now. If this sells like hotcakes, which I'm sure it probably will sell quite well, then who knows? They'll start branching it out, and it'd be like Amiibos, Lewis, and there'll be one for everything. And then at that point, we may get Bloodborne Hunter or something like that. And then at that point, maybe you might get my money, right? So we'll wait and see how this progresses. But yeah, weird choice.
My only question with this one, and I think I touched on it earlier when I introduced it, who the hell is Spin Masters? I've got a lot of toys. And I mean figurines. You can see them behind me, right? I adorn my office with this kind of geek chic that people are all into. And I'm assuming people that listen and watch the podcast are into also. But who the hell is Spin Masters? Well, what have they ever done? I've never bought a Spin Master toy or figurine or even seen it in the shop. It's not a memorable name. It doesn't fill me with confidence anyway for the partner that PlayStation have chose. But who knows? As I said, the Aloy character does look all right. The rest of them a little bit more under par. Anybody else heard of Spin Master?
No. I was going to say, why would you buy Val without Aloy? Because they're selling them separately. Surely they should just have Aloy bundled with this Val guy. Because who the hell's going to buy Val separately? Is it Val? I think would you buy him separately? Like, would you like go, I'm just going to buy his figure, like, and not buy Aloy? Like, it just seems a bit weird to have them has him as a separate entity. It seems a bit weird to me.
I mean, I never want to generalize. There's bound to be somebody out there that loves Varl, right? There must be something there that they think, oh yeah, Varl's a great character. And I remember him in the game. I couldn't tell you his name. Like, he's not that memorable. It's not like it's not like the dude I remember, and I can't remember his name either, so it's quite embarrassing. But when I think of Horizon, I always think of Aloy, and I think of that dude who's ginger and he's got the big like handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
I always think of him as the other character. I never would think of Varl, even though he is literally the second main character in the game. But looking at, I've gone on Spin Master's website because much like you, Phil, I hadn't heard of them. They got licenses for days. They got all the DC. They got How to Train Your Dragon. They got Meccano, Paw Patrol. Fucking you name it, they got a license for it. So they must be a huge toy manufacturer.
Yeah.
But I think maybe we're just showing our age, my friend. And we've probably gone out of that style of toy, and we've now gone to the more premium kind of first four collectibles, like the big kind of statues and stuff like that, as opposed to, sitting there and playing with my Street Sharks like I used to do when I was a kid,
Or my wrestling figures, yeah. The name you were searching for was Errand. I did have to look it up. But of course, Silas, there's lots of characters within the Horizon universe, and Varl seems quite strange, but who knows? Maybe, as you said, they're going to expand the range, but we'll keep a close eye on it because, of course, we're interested in this type of stuff. But yeah, I think you're right in the sense that regardless of our views on it, I think this will still do well. And let's move this on. So in the vein of Horizon, Lewis, I'm going to go with Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Godzilla.
Movies.
Star Wars.
Star Trek.
Phaser.
Laser beam.
I don't know.
Oh, he's out on laser beam.
Laser beam. I don't know where to go with that. All right, lads. Okay. So this was in the doc, and I want you guys have asked me to tell you about this. So it's the Starfield and Indiana Jones could be announced for PS5 and being prepped for PS5 Pro, according to some Xbox fan who, honestly, it's not a really reliable source. This is from Icon Era, and it's from a guy called J-Dubs, who is known for being extremely unreliable when it comes to this. But the rumor is that Starfield and Indiana Jones might be coming to PS5. Xbox have already confirmed that it's not the case, but a couple of months ago. But what do you guys think? Would you want to play Indiana Jones and Starfield? I know how much you love Starfield.
Well, if you're asking me, Lewis, and I'm going to give you my 2 cents on it, I personally do think that we will eventually get Starfield and Indiana Jones. And I think when, Phil Spencer and what's the other guy? Matt Booty, I want to say. I always remember his second name more than his first name. Is it Booty? Mr. Booty. Mr. Booty, we'll call him. Mr. Booty, we'll call him. Whenever they announce something, they never play it straight, if you like. And they kind of play off each other a little bit when I've seen interviews in the past. So I think what they've said probably isn't the whole truth. They probably said that it's not going to come to PlayStation. And then they've said silently, right now. Because I think in the future, I could definitely see both of those games coming to PlayStation. I think more and more, and we've talked about this previously on the show, even with yourself when you've joined us, I think more and more games will eventually come over to PlayStation. It's natural. It's the way for you to earn a little bit more on a game. Maybe we won't get them day and date. I think in the future, we will get the games. But out of the two, and as much as I dunk on Starfield, I wouldn't actually mind playing it. And that DLC, that blew me away. When we saw that on the Xbox showcase, I think that was one of my highlights of the entire showcase, was the DLC for Starfield. Because, forget my French, but it made it look fucking interesting. Like, Starfield, for me, when you were talking it up, it was like Dead Man's Sky, or No Man's Sky, where it's like lots of worlds procedurally generated, but once you get there, they're all kind of the same because it's all, colors from the same paint pot, right? Everything's a shade of blue, a shade of red. It's very similar wherever you go. And ultimately, once you get there, there's one narrative story that you follow. Everything else is near enough the same. That's the view I've taken on it anyway. Forgive me if I'm wrong, and please correct me. You're the expert on this. But that Starfield DLC, that looked bloody awesome. That blew me away. That looked genuinely interesting. So if Starfield came with its DLC, I think that would be the one that I would like to play on my PS5 Pro. Because I think it won't happen now. It'll happen sometime in the distant future.
I mean, I do think you're right. It probably will come to PlayStation at some point because like everything's coming on PlayStation. Sea of Thieves is one of the best-selling games on PlayStation this year, and that's a 7-year-old Xbox game. So I do feel like they will eventually do it, but I just don't put any credence into anything that J-Dubs or what was the website again? Icon Error. They're not known for being reliable when it comes to leaking information, but people have picked up on this and they're running with it. So we got to talk about it, I suppose. I wouldn't put much credence into this, but I could see them bringing Starfield and Indiana Jones to PlayStation eventually. Probably when the money kind of dries out a little bit on those two games, and they need to kind of recoup some more money, and then they'll put it on PlayStation. It's interesting because, like, obviously, PlayStation is starting to release more games on PC as well, and it seems like the future of exclusives is becoming more and more foggy as the months go on, and it is interesting. I think what you're saying about Starfield is a little bit harsh, honestly, but I can see what you're saying. But I feel like there's a bit more to it than that. But I get kind of what you're trying to say. I would still recommend trying it out if you like it. Like, great. If you don't, then fair enough. But I would say try and I would say give it a chance if you can. But yeah, honestly, I wouldn't put much credence into this particular rumor, but I could see it happening eventually. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents on that one. Davey, do you have anything you wanted to check in on this?
Yeah, a couple of things. I reckon this is going to happen. 100% it is. I think the floodgates are open now, and they've seen how successful it can be on a platform which is used to purchasing content. The thing is, the Xbox, unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how you look at it, they've trained their audience to not purchase games. Right, that's what they've been trained to do with Xbox Game Pass, and that's the reality of it. No, that is 100% the reality of it. They just don't, and so what that means then is that if they don't, and I think the big thing is, I think this winter is going to be the test. If Game Pass doesn't move the needle by the end of this year, and they've got, say, Indie Avowed COD, and it doesn't move like how they think it's going to, I think you can see these games coming a lot quicker than they would otherwise. I think like the minimum term you'd expect would be a year, right? Generally, you would think a year would be enough time for it to be like, okay, well, you know, maybe I will dip into Game Pass or whatever like that. But if I was them, it would be the same way that Sony do it, in terms of it will come way later and there is no rhyme or reason to it. So it might be that 7 years later now they get it, or 5 years later, or whatever it is, but you're always on your toes. You're never quite sure if it's ever going to make the transition. I think they will only go that route for it, the smart kind of business route, if Game Pass does move the needle this year. If it doesn't, and their efforts have all been in vain, and COD hasn't really moved it, things like that, I imagine we'll see them within a year. Easy. And I think it would just be just a cadence of that then, because you can't keep these studios going if they're not bringing in revenue. And you know that you can rely on, if you put it over to PlayStation, it's a decent game, it's going to sell units, right? A way bigger install base. People that aren't trained not to buy them, they will just buy content regardless. So it makes monetary sense to be able to put it over onto the bigger platform, the biggest platform of all gaming. But at the same time, if they do that, it kind of devalues the Xbox brand. And it's what I've always said for a long time, is I never understood why they brought games over. Because it immediately then just puts rumors like this into reality and puts them out there when they would never have had to ever cross that bridge before. And it's just it's just profit. If they're not going to get the profit from this system, they have to get it somewhere else. And you can't keep funding these massive games like Indiana Jones looks like it's going to be fantastic. They can't just have that for like, you know, the 15 million or 25 million subscribers they got on Game Pass. That's not enough. Like, they need to be able to get some revenue on the back of it. And if the needle doesn't move far enough, we'll have them within a year. I pretty much fucking guarantee it. But don't know how you feel about that, Lewis.
Xbox gamers do actually buy games. It's like Starfield did sell extremely well. There's a lot of games that people do pay for on Xbox, and they do buy games at full price. it does. It does. They have come out multiple times and said that they are still profitable even with Game Pass. Um, and also games like Call of Duty and all that, if it comes to Game Pass, which it is, they'll still have battle passes and cosmetic skins and other ways of making money. So they will still be having another revenue stream with these type of games as well. So I don't think it is completely as dire as you're making it out, but I do see what you're saying in a lot of ways with that.
What I think Xbox really needs is just that one banger. You know, they need that one 10 out of 10 that really excels. And even if it is available on Game Pass, you need it to excel to a level where you create that fandom and people want to own the game. I think that is the point where you start to transition away from where we're at currently with Xbox to then building that audience that we see on PlayStation a bit more. You know, I'm one of those people. Like, I could play some of the games digitally, but I go out of my way to buy them physically and buy the toys, buy the memorabilia, buy the t-shirts, talk about it on the PlayStation podcast because I love it. Now, I don't see the same kind of, I think, obsession maybe, and maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe there's a lot of negative connotations to that word, but I think that's ultimately what you need to inspire. So if Indiana Jones is going to live up to the hype that it's getting, and it does look fabulous, you've got it, I think, in your fantasy prediction, Lewis, actually. I think it was one of the ones I counterpicked, actually. But I think it's going to be good. Now, that might be the future of them clawing back some of those, more obsessive fans and being able to make a bit more money out of them, I think, because that obsession equals money, ultimately. And if we're looking at a business, that's what you need. You need someone who's obsessed about your games, and then you need to make as much money out of them pretty much as possible without tipping the balance.
Yeah, I mean, what they're relying on is a lot of FOMO. I think a lot of the thing with Xbox is that essentially they want people to be impatient and like go, well, Starfield might come to PlayStation 5 in like a year, but if I want to play Starfield now, I need to buy an Xbox, and then I'll buy an Xbox. But I mean, that's kind of what I feel like they're trying to get people to basically be impatient and buy stuff straight away, which I fall for all the time because I always buy every new console. It's like, I can't wait a month for this game, and buy a day one console. But if like you got patience, then yeah, I think you're right. I think probably Starfield and Indiana Jones will end up on PlayStation eventually, but I think they're counting on people being impatient, and if they see like Indiana Jones gets a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, they're relying on people going, oh, I need to buy an Xbox right now to play this game. I think it is a lot of, again, FOMO, and it also you saw after the Xbox showcase this year that the sales have gone through the roof, and people are really excited for games like Gears of War E-Day and Perfect Dark and Fable and stuff like that, and they just essentially, they know they can get it on PC. They know it might come to PlayStation eventually, but if they want to get the best experience day one, you got to get an Xbox, and that's what I think they're just relying on people being impatient, essentially, because we could all be impatient sometimes.
No, and I think it's a good strategy to have. I think the only thing that is just the big concern is that it's, and I suppose this is where we'll find out sooner rather than later, I imagine, is just how open they are to these games going to the rival platform. And if they don't come, then the FOMO strategy will work. You know, like if they aren't going to release them in a decent cadence, FOMO will definitely work. It's how PlayStation have been doing it the entire time with PC, and that's why they got a huge distinction between all the single player content games come to PlayStation, don't go to PC, not for like years and years to come. Whereas like the multiplayer experiences will go day and date to PC and console, so they got the best chance to be able to find an audience and stabilize themselves. And I think if Xbox stick to their guns and don't push the button for PlayStation, I think their strategy will bear fruit. But it's just if they can weather the storm and if they get the rise that they need to. And that's what I hope. I really hope to God that we get to the end of this year and it's worked, and now we're talking like 50 million Game Pass subscribers. That's the dream, because then it means we still have a valid platform. But we'll wait and see.
What I also think their strategy might be is because the rumor is that the next Xbox console will be coming out in 2026, so like 2 years before the PS6. So they might be like, if you want to play the best version of Call of Duty Black Ops 7 or whatever what it is, Modern Warfare 4 or whatever it's going to be, with a limited edition Xbox, whatever they're going to call it, the Xbox 7, which is a Call of Duty version, you have to buy this Xbox and like essentially promote it as the best place to play Call of Duty. Yes, you can still play it on your PS5 or your PS5 Pro, but if you want the premium version, you're going to need to get the Xbox 7 or whatever they're going to call the next one, the Xbox Revolution or whatever they're going to call it. I think that's going to be their main selling point. Is like almost like the marketing for Call of Duty might be like more important than it being exclusive, which is a bit weird, but casual fans don't know the difference a lot of the time because like the marketing rights of the original Call of Duties really pushed the Xbox 360, and now PlayStation's had it for the last 10 years. That's really helped them as well. So I'm thinking that's their main angle with it anyway.
This has turned into anything but quick news, and I think we're going a little bit more in depth on the Xbox news here. No, you don't have to be sorry on that, Lewis. It's great to have you on. But ultimately, we are a PlayStation show, and I think we should probably move it on to the next section of quick news.
Aloy.
Horizon.
Sunset.
Noon.
Sunrise.
Sunshine.
Rain.
Clouds.
Fog.
War.
Has changed.
War has changed.
Okay, Snake.
Eater.
Fat.
Jim.
Bob.
Scott.
Pilgrim.
Arcade.
Gaming.
PlayStation.
Xbox.
Losers.
Smelly.
PlayStation. I'm just going to say it again because I just wanted to.
You can't say PlayStation again. He's out.
Oh.
I'll take the loss so I can say PlayStation smelly. I'll take it.
Well, with that bombshell, quick news. So I got a 2-for-1 here, okay? There was a recent event, which was the Capcom Next, where they had a digital showcase like they always do. And you're always hoping for some baller news from these. And it did deliver. There was 2 pieces from this. The first is Dead Rising returns with Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Now, this game is a total remake. I don't know why they call it a remaster, because it's a total remake of the first Dead Rising. So it launches digitally September 19th for Xbox Series, PlayStation 5 and PC. It's at 4K 60 FPS, developed in the RE engine, and it's improvements all over the damn place. From auto savings, that game was a bit of a fucking nightmare with its saving before, to now you can move while you shoot. So they've completely gone back and just revisited all this. Now, first off, before we get into the second piece of news of this, are you guys excited to see Dead Rising return? Phil, let's start with you.
Mate, anything Capcom I love, and this one I love a little bit extra because I was the one that bought the Dead Rising games and spent hours rolling around cities, smashing up zombies in hilarious ways with lots of different references to other Capcom games within it. I think that was my favourite part, where you would find things like you'd find like Ryo's gi and be able to do like a dragon punch on some of the zombies, or you'd find like, you know, Mega Man's like gun, or, you know, you'd find certain things, and I loved all those references, loved going around Dead Rising. So it's a welcome return. I love those games. So yes, very, very excited.
Glad to hear it. What about yourself, Lewis?
I'm so excited for this game. I love Dead Rising. Is the button active at the moment?
It certainly is.
Yes, I won't
Well,
mention.
find out.
No, I'm good. I mean, you said the game that could not be mentioned engine earlier as abbreviations. Does that count?
No, that's not what it stands for. The RE engine is not the game that can't be mentioned engine. It's a different meaning entirely. We've covered this. We've already gone over this hurdle on the podcast before.
Okay.
It's not the same.
All right, but yes, Dead Rising, really fantastic game. One of my favorite zombie franchises, along with the one we can't mention. but I like that this is more as comedy and is funny. I feel like there's not enough video games that are humorous. I mean, you got like the South Park games and that, and then this is about this. I can't really think of any other really good comedy games. This is a very funny game. The timer was a bit stressful because you got a time. If you guys don't remember that the original the Dead Rising series, you have a 24-hour clock that counts down, and you have to do everything in certain times. But it also kind of added to its charm a little bit. The game's a bit janky, but I'm hoping they keep some of the jank. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be really fun. And September this year is going to be an absolute juicer when it comes to months. September is stacked, and this is one of the top of my list. This and Astrobot, September's gonna be rad, and Zelda. This Zelda and Astrobot, oh my god.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where I'll come in on this. I think that I'm excited for it. I'm gonna wait. It's a game that I don't need to get day and date. I think it's a game that I can expect to see turn up on PS Plus Extra in a year or two. And I'm probably quite happy to wait till then, because I think it's just too much competition for my time around then. But very excited to see it return. Now, on to the second piece of news, which I think is a little bit more substantial here, okay? And the button is off for this, otherwise I won't be able to talk about it, okay? So, the final thing, when this was being shown, they also had Koshi Nakanishi, who is the Resident Evil 7 director. Okay, he was on there, and I thought, why have they got him on? Mostly it was because RE7 is going to Apple devices. Well, that was the main thing. But they ended it with a tiny, tiny little bit from him. So it confirmed in there that Koshi Nakanishi is back to helm Resident Evil 9. They're bringing back the guy from RE7 back, and he says that it took a long time for him to figure out what he wanted to do next. But then when he came upon the idea, it was substantial. That's all we have. We don't have any more than that. But I'm excited to know that Koshi Nakanoshi is back, so it means that we get... 7 for me is the best Resident Evil kind of original game that we've had in a fucking long time. I think it's better than 8. It's up there with one of the best in the series, 7 for me. I absolutely adore it. So to see a Nakanishi come back on the reins is a welcome sight for me. I absolutely am over the moon with it. But I wanted to spin this off because we had a listener question. So, No Fate has written in, and he says, guys, I'm sure you're going to talk about the recent news for the new RE game, so assuming you will lift the ban on the game that can't be mentioned, this one time, allow me this opportunity to ask all of you. Pitch me your own game or story within the RE franchise. We'll keep this pretty quick because we're going long on quick news here. But Phil, I want to hear, what would be your own game or story within the RE franchise?
Before I go off slightly and very quickly, I just wanted to mention that, yes, you are right, 7 is the best modern day. And it's nice to say Resident Evil. So I'm glad to hear that we have the, game director back for our Resident Evil 9. The word that worries me is substantial. Please don't be open world. Anyway, moving this on. No. Please don't be open world. Please don't be open world. Substantial feels like it's going to be open world, doesn't it? Makes me cringe a little bit, substantial. So don't go there. Don't go there. And I know you're listening. But anyway, down to my Resident Evil game that I would like to see. I would like to see them open up a course about Albert Wesker. He's my favourite character in the whole series. I'd like to know more of his backstory. Of course, we delved into that within Resident Evil 5 and its DLC with the pickups, and we learnt about the 13 children raised by scientists by Umbrella who were born there and experimented on and brought up as a new breed of superheroes by Spencer. Now, I'd love to hear more about that and actually play that, actually experience that area of the game and understand why Albert Wesker became the man he is. I think they could really expand on that, and I'm not the only one who loves Albert Wesker. He's the big bad in Resident Evil, and I'm kind of sad that we don't really hear too much more about him in the more modern games, so I really want them to do a prequel, and let's find out everything about that man.
I'll tell you what would be cool, is instead of it being Albert Wesker the school years, which I think that could well turn into. I need to do your homework. Have you got your homework in on time? You know, like, is he going to be top of the class? Can he really get up there? He's competing against Birkin. Oh, the drama. Instead of that, I think you could do a cool-ass game of showing... Do you remember the light gun game?
Yes.
For the Wii?
Yes.
Yeah.
Umbrella Chronicles.
That's the one. Thank you.
And
It
Dark
slipped my
Side
mind then.
Chronicles.
Yeah. So in Umbrella Chronicles, there is some special parts in that because Wesker is narrating, and you could relive the moment for after he gets stabbed by Tyrant, his escape out the mansion. I think they could do a cool-ass game filling in the proper backstory here and showing, like, everything he's kind of gone up to across 1 to 4, you know? And, like, really show kind of all his moments. And sure, it'd be, like, it'd be a weird game to do, but you could really fill it in with cutscenes, I suppose. But they could start from, like, it could be him recounting, like, his kind of adventures, and you kind of play through. So you escape through the mansion, you're kind of running amok all around the village in RE4, invading the island in Code Veronica. Like, you could have some cool ass moments in that, and I think that could be a cool ass game as well for Wesker. But I love your idea, Phil. I love your idea. Really do. What about yourself, Lewis? What are you going at with this?
Oh boy. Okay. I have no idea what to say for this one. I was trying to think of a
No pressure, mate.
funny. No, I know, just on the spot a little bit. I was trying to think of something funny to say, but I was like, that's not really my forte. I was maybe like a sequel to 5, which is even more camp and over the top with more explosions and more punching boulders. I mean, that's kind of my thing. I'm totally down for that. Maybe takes place in reaction to RE6, yeah. RE6, but even more crazy and more over the top. That's true. I forgot RE6 was a bloody thing. Jesus, I blocked that out of my mind. Yes.
Most people do.
Yes, I want a remastered version of RE6. That's what I want. Better graphics, more action. Yes, please.
Fuck me. All right, we'll move on from that one fast, I think. For me, my answer is going to be quite safe, but I just really want this to happen. I just want Outbreak 3. That's all I want. All I want is Outbreak File 3. I want it with proper working online. I want it classic kind of dynamic camera. I want it just classic Resident Evil. Outbreak 3. Like, don't change too much. The mold is there, and it fucking works, and it holds up incredibly well, even all these years later, for what is a PS2 game. And now with online that we have at the moment, I mean, I've laboured this point so many times on the show, it would just work. It would just work, and that's what I want. And if they can't do it that way, put it into first person, and do Outbreak that way. And I think even then that would work, because it would still be the classic kind of puzzle solving and everything else, and it's a bastardized version of Outbreak, and it wouldn't be as good, but I'm sure it would ship more units than if they put it the way I want it, which would appeal to me and Phil and no one else. But the hardcore fans would eat it up, and it wouldn't cost an awful lot to do. That would be the dream for me.
I was thinking of a co-op event. I was going to say a co-op action game, but then I was thinking in my head, like, I was thinking essentially like the original Gears of War, because that's kind of got horror elements to it. That's what I was thinking. But then I'm like, does that really... But then is it a Resident Evil game if you go that far into, like, the 4-player co-op action, you know? So that's what put me off that idea.
Is Resident Evil 4 a Resident Evil game? It doesn't really matter. Just throw in a couple of zombies, a rocket launcher, and Leon, you're done.
I mean, that's the best. Exactly, I mean, it's the best Resident Evil game.
The remake's good. The original isn't. We've established that. But Davey, on your point, I love it. Yes. Let's have Outbreak File 3 and let's keep it like the originals. Let's just improve it, because it was a game for me and it had big ideas that weren't really realised, and it was held back mostly by the technology and the time that it came out. So if it came out on modern consoles, I could see it working perfectly. And if we do have to go to first person, sure, I'd probably accept that, but I would love to see... Maybe just you have some options within the game. You can either play as fixed camera, right? And you can play it in tank controls, or you can play on modern controls. Capcom seem to do that a lot with the Street Fighter games, where they give you a modern version of their controls, and they give you the original, Street Fighter 2-esque controls, where you have to no inputs. Maybe we could do the same with Resident Evil. And it feels so damn good to say Resident Evil. So thank you very much for that question. We would welcome many, many more Resident Evil questions. Remember, we are the Resident Evil podcast on the side.
Capcom, if you are listening, please don't listen to my idea. Don't remake 6. Listen to these two ideas. They're much better. I was joking. Please don't do that. Please don't. Yeah, do Phil or Davey's idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Lewis. Thank you for clearing that up. I'm glad that that we know that Capcom listen, and they're just totally ignoring me. The same way that Insomniac do about Resistance. But less said about that, the better. Let's move it on to the final bit of quick news, which is yourself, Phil. And let's kick you off with a word association, shall we? Jelly.
Red.
Blood.
Doom.
Slayer.
Tarnica.
Metal.
Lead.
Copper.
Gypsies.
Horse.
Carriage.
Wedding.
Wedding ring.
No, I got nothing.
Oh,
Sorry, Spence. Sorry, Spence. I was like, where do I go for that?
I mean, you could have gone diamond.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't want to say something too disparaging because you're getting married soon, and I don't want to be like evil or bad or
Mistake.
Mistake.
I was like, no.
Quick news. And as Spencer is away, it falls to me that I'll do the PS Plus Extra lineup for July, as well as the PS Plus Premium lineup for July. Okay, guys, I'm going to shoot you a list of games that are coming to the extra part of PS Plus. We have got Remnant 2. A game I really, really want to play. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy. We have Mount and Blade 2, Bannerlord, which is a strategy action role-playing game. We have the Jack in the Box Party Pack 9. We have Pathfinders, Wrath of the Righteous. That's an isometric role-playing game. We have No More Heroes 3. Definitely a good game to check out. We have Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes Complete Edition. We have Deadcraft, which is a twist on a zombie survival action game. And we have Steep, which is a snowboarding game, I believe, which is a sports game. And as you know, we're very good at sports games. That may be one to check out later on. On the PS Premium section, we have Job Simulator for PSVR 2. We have Summoner, which is a PS2 game, and that's an action role-playing game. We have Ratchet and Clank Size Matters on the PSP, which is amazing. And then we have a game that I'm going to probably struggle to pronounce, Jane d'Arc on PSP, which is a tactical role-playing game. Hopefully I've said that one right. Yes, it's interesting to see some PSP games and some PS2 games come into the service. Now, guys, I'll shoot it to Lewis first. Does any of those games sort of stand out to you? Is there any one in particular, because obviously let's be a little bit quick on quick news, that stands out to you that you would be playing if you subscribe to these services?
Right. Okay. So I've played Steep a little bit. It was on Xbox about a year ago. It's very fun. It reminds me a lot of like some classic snowboarding games. And then No More Heroes I've had downloaded for a while and not got around to playing it, but I've heard good things. I think this is a very nice lineup of games, actually. There's quite a lot there. But yeah, as I'm limited to one game, I would say check out No More Heroes, because I've heard good things. How about you, Davey?
Oh, this month is fantastic. I tell you what, PS Plus at the moment has been on an absolute fucking killing streak. Unfortunately, the two biggest games here I already own and I have not played. So Remnant 2, me and Phil both own it, and we have not started it yet, which is crippling. But now it means that Spence can join in and the three of us can actually start Remnant 2. So that's the benefit from this, right? Huge win. Or, Lewis, yeah, I might be able to play. It's 3-player, I think.
Oh, never mind.
It's 3-player. So we'll have to wing you in. You know, we got options. And the next one for me would be Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which is the remake of the PSP game, Crisis Core. I own that as well, have not started it. So those are the two highlights for me, but I already own them. So outside of those, the one that really tickles my eye and tickles my fancy here is Ratchet and Clank Size Matters. I have not played that game in my life. So I didn't even know there was a PSP version of Ratchet and Clank. It must have just, maybe it came out when my PSP got nicked by the ex-missus. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to get that on download straight away and get onto that. And judging by most of the classics these days, it's bound to have trophy support. So I'm all about it. I think this would be a nice little platter for me to earn. But Phil, you don't have access to Premium, which is a bit of a shame, so you can't enjoy Ratchet. But does it make your list anyway?
I'm surprised you aren't hyped about Job Simulator for your PSVR 2. You're always looking for games to play on the PSVR 2 and learn a new skill. Maybe you could learn to get a job. I know you have a job, but you could learn to get maybe another job. Or when you're doing a promotion, maybe this is the way forward. You could do a bit of training within Job Simulator, couldn't you?
This is what I always say about simulator jobs, simulator things. Why would I get a simulator when I already have a job? Like, this just like fucking lorry driving simulator all over again. Like, I could just get a job I could just get my HGV license. And I've played Job Simulator before, and it's nothing like having a real job. You know, I don't throw my cups of coffee across the office at my co-workers or chuck donuts just and mash them into my floppy disk drive. You don't do any of that stuff in real life. If you do, you don't keep that job for long. So, no, Job Simulator is not for me, my friend. I've got too many games on VR, and it doesn't quite get up there. But it's a strong game to give away for VR, because it does sell really well. Job Simulator has been in the charts for VR for a long time, so I'm surprised they're giving it away here.
Yeah, giving it away on premium, though, so you have to subscribe to that higher echelon to be able to play it. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me when they put a more kind of jewel in the crown within the subscription, and I think Job Simulator probably is that jewel outside Ratchet and Clank, because that's the one, of course, which would interest me, because I love that series. But I'm a mixture of the two of you, really. I think the No More Heroes games, they were brilliant when I played them originally, and of course Remnant. Really want to dive in with you guys. I mean, 4 of us for a 3-player game, it's a little bit difficult, but of course, some of us have, time constraints when it comes to video games. So, Lewis, maybe we could just tag team it. I know Spencer and Davey, they're never off the PlayStation these days. So, we could tag team it, double team it, whatever you want to do.
And if there's 4 of us, we could do Jackbox, because those games are actually a lot of fun, like party games, If you've got too many people, we'll just do Jackbox. I mean, that's a good plan for Plan B.
Yeah, because we wouldn't play Helldivers or, FIFA or any of these games that we're enjoying at the moment. Let's play Jackbox. Anyway, let's move this on. Davey, can you give me a roundup of the scores, please?
The scores this time, Jesus Christ. I tell you what, I've had a showing this time. Last time it was close, but today I've come out with a 0 score. Phil, you come up with 2. Lewis, representing Spencer, you've come out with 4. So it does mean that Spencer has got a shot in the dock from this episode, and it's all Lewis's fault.
I'm sorry, but I'm not that sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm not that sorry. You didn't drink you didn't drink in the drinking game. You didn't drink in your thing. So sorry, Spence. I'm not that sorry. I did try, but I'm not that sorry.
He had it coming, as far as I'm concerned. He had it coming. But on that bombshell, should we move it on to the topic? Stop! Topic time! And here we are at the topics, and today's topic is an absolute juicer. The Concord beta has ended. It is over. Well, for the first week anyway. We got another week to go. Guys, I want to know, we've all played it for varying amounts of time. I want to know how you've got on for it, and has it lived up to the kind of hype, I suppose, for this game? And it's a tricky one to put, because I think we're all a little bit trepidatious. But Phil, let's start with yourself. How did Concord work for you? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, David, I'm glad you asked. And before we start this topic, I think it's important to mention straight off the bat that we were able to play this game originally because Maloon, one of our listeners, one of our loyal fans, sent us some codes, because originally you would need to pre-order the game, and you got a number of codes. I think it was 5 codes that you could share with your dearest, your loved ones, your brothers and sisters, and your friends and family, and people on a PlayStation podcast to be able to play the game. But PlayStation, I think, opened it up, didn't they, to the wider PS Plus subscription, to be able to play this game throughout the beta. But we actually got to play a few games with Maloon, and he was a super nice guy. So thanks again, Maloon, for inviting us to play this game. And I know his views were extremely positive on his experience within Concord. Now, I played the game on 2 separate occasions. I played it on Saturday when I was up in London, because I was up there to watch the tennis, and I got a few games of Concord in while I was waiting for people to get ready at my brother's house on the PlayStation Portal. Now, again, this game was playable. to a certain extent. It didn't seem to have the same slowdown or muddiness that Helldivers 2 had in my sort of opener when we were talking about what games we were playing. But it did lag out a few times where it just completely glitched. Now, I'm not sure if that's down to the Concord beta or that was down to the PlayStation Portal, because my brother's internet is cracked up in London. So I would have had probably the best connection possible from a London connection to my very cracked internet down in Bristol. I think I would have had the best setup there to be able to test it. So I think it was probably more of a Concord problem than a PlayStation Portal problem, because there was a couple of Concord problems that I ran into when I played it on the Sunday with Maloon and Lewis. I got into the game and it was one of the originals. And actually, we played how many matches? Maybe 6 matches. And I think 5 of those matches, we literally had the same map. You know, that's not a glitch in itself, but it doesn't show the full variety of what's available when it comes to Concord. There was a glitch in there that I experienced where I died, and yes, I did die quite a lot within this game. I was doing all right, sort of 1 for 1 generally when I was playing the game, but I did die on occasion. And there was one incident where I died and I wasn't able to move the character. I thought, oops, maybe my handset wasn't fully charged, I couldn't move. I was kind of locked into the character. And Maloon happened to mention this is a known bug with it. And of course, they will be doing their best to sort of fix this. But what happens is you just can't move until you die. And then the next time you spawn, you're just back into the game. So I did experience in that. And I did experience some connection issues when I was at home playing the game. Now, I'm not sure, Davey and Lewis, you experienced the same things as me, but I would say there was a few outstanding bugs. And you know, potentially at this point in the edit, we could play the bug hunter tune, because I did find some bugs. I was doing Spencer's bug hunting duty. Okay.
I think at this point, it's about time we hit the jingle. It's been a
Let's do it.
goddamn long time. When walls are spinning all around you, you can't properly aim your gun. You find you're falling through the world. I'll hunt you down 'cause you're a bug. I find the bugs, the big bad bugs. The Bug Hunter. God damn, it's been a long time since that. And I think this is a perfect segment to talk about bugs, to be honest, because I had a couple. I gotta say, overall, I was very impressed with how stable this was. I played the COD betas every year, and it's a fucking nightmare. You wait till launch day, it's a nightmare. It hardly works. I played 7 hours of this beta, and I encountered 2 issues. That's all, only 2. The first one I had might be similar to yours, Phil. I had it so that I could move my character, but the right axis, the right stick, wouldn't move. And the way I had to get out of that was either use an ability or jump. And as soon as I did either of those, it seems to just reset and it was fine. And that happened to me once. And then I had another issue where it just basically just kicked me out. So right at the end of the game, I think where people had quit was what was causing it. And then if the opponents had quit and they all quit out, it would go on to the kind of end result screen and you couldn't move from it. It just wouldn't move. So it meant I had to close the game down and reopen it. And that one was a consistent bug. So anytime that if all the enemy team quits, we were running a fucking gambit on them and they were getting fucked, they'd all quit and then he just stuck. And those are the 2 issues I had. So overall, a very pleasant experience compared to what I thought I could have been let in for during the Concord beta. But what about yourself, Lewis? What did you encounter?
Honestly, I'm pretty much the same as you guys. I had that one glitch once where I couldn't, where, as you said, you can't move your right stick, but that was it, really. As you said, very smooth experience. I was very surprised. I did say this to Maloon because I got to meet Maloon as well. Hi, Maloon, nice meeting you. That this beta was very stable, and I this. I feel like this is going to be pretty much what we get at launch. I can't see them changing much, to be honest. I feel like this has been essentially this is the launch version, but they've put it into beta just to gauge interest, I guess. I don't know. It feels very polished. I've played a lot of betas in the past, and this is one of the most polished ones I've ever played. For what it is. So yeah, bug wise, not had much issues at all considering it. But yeah, bug wise, not much to talk about, to be honest.
Well, that's good news. I mean, it might just be that you had a bit of just a bit of bad luck, Phil, or maybe the title of Bug Hunter has come across to you. But I'd love to hear more about your thoughts with Concord.
Don't curse me, because I don't want to be tarred with that same brush that Spencer gets, because every game he plays, he seems to find some game-breaking bug that just ruins his experience. And we think it's more down to probably the amount he plays his PlayStation, the wear and tear he puts it through, more than anything. So out of all our PlayStations, Lewis probably excluded, out of the three of us, I probably play my PlayStation the least. It should be at the peak of its life at the moment. So yeah, don't tar me with that brush. Let's move away from the bugs, because I agree with you guys. It was a relatively pleasant experience playing Concord, and you can kind of forgive bugs. Well, you can definitely forgive bugs when you're playing a beta. You come to just accept those within games, and ultimately the bugs that I experienced, I just died once and I was back in the game perfectly. And the connection issues, again, you may even say it was down to my internet. I can't 100% put it down to Concord, okay? But let's move on to characters. I think that's probably the natural regression where we should go with this. So the two that I naturally gravitated towards, and Davey, I think we chose the same characters without knowing, okay? So I was playing Davis and then Roka. I think that's how you pronounce those two characters, okay? So Davis is a character with an MK5, so the Wikipedia tells me, grenade launcher, and she, or they, sorry, let's get the pronouns correct, because they're very important to shape the character, because Concord basically shoves it in your face what pronouns each character has, and Davis is a they, them, so let's get this correct. They shoot chemical pools down, which they like to ignite and do a shit ton of damage, and when you get it correct, it feels very, very nice, doesn't it? Roka, she's the bird with the rocket launcher. I did happen to mention there's no lookers within this game, and then Maloon was like, well, maybe Roka is, but of course you can't see because she's got a big helmet on. So I was speculating that she might be a bit of a butterface. She's got a great body, but once you take that mask off, Christ, keep it back on, Roka. She's the girl with the rocket launcher. She's lightning fast, and she puts down the DPS. I had slightly more success with Roka out of my small sample size of playtime, so I'd probably say she would end up being my main. I think next time we play, I would go to Roka to start off with and see how that plays out, because she's a very entertaining character. But around that character, one thing sort of Maloon's happened to mention, again, I was getting lots of my facts from Maloon. He's been playing a lot of hours into this game. He mentioned that one of the lead designers, or one of the lead guys working on this game, was an ex-League of Legends designer. And once he mentioned that, I started to see similarities between League, which of course is a MOBA, and this hero shooter, which we're talking about, which is Concord. And more things became apparent, and little similarities. I was like, oh, the way the health spawns and reacts with the characters, that's very similar to the ARAM. And then Roka's ult is actually exactly the same as Galio's, one of the characters from League of Legends. Now, I think that's a very positive thing, that there's lots of crossover between the two, because League of Legends is probably one of the most popular games ever at the moment, okay? And it has huge audiences, and it keeps people vastly engaged, especially when you get to the esports echelon with that game. So it's got a lot of good pedigree there. So hopefully he can continue to execute that and weave that into the character designs. But for the time I've spent with those two characters, they were vastly interesting and multi-layered, and there's a lot more to them that actually within my small playtime, like there's a lot more to see out there. So I'm looking forward to once again playing that when it goes into the full thing, when we can actually play the game for real.
Nice. Well, Lewis, I'd love to know. I know firsthand because I played alongside it for many, many hours. But can you talk me through your legend pick?
Yeah, so I wanted to correct Phil. He said there was no lookers in this game. I would disagree. I was Star Child, the big meaty man with big hairy nipples and blue skin, and yeah, he's a sexy man. He looks like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's a great character. I really enjoy using him. He's the heavy. He has a shotgun, as a charge attack, which is very similar to like Reinhardt from Overwatch. And I spent a lot of time with that character, and that is my main for sure. If someone takes that character, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to cry because I don't know who else I would play, because that's the only character I played for pretty much the whole beta. It's just a fun character to just run in when there's a load of weaker characters there, and you just run in and kill 3 of them at once. Is just the best feeling ever. I really enjoyed this game. A lot more than I thought I would, to be fair. And Phil was talking about how one of the developers was a League of Legends developer. Also, a lot of the developers from this game are also ex-Bungie devs as well. So people who've worked on Halo and Destiny, and you can feel that in the shooting. It's a very good space shooter. I did write this off when I first played it as like an Overwatch clone, but the more I played it, the more I enjoyed it. I think this game is quite solid. It might be because it's the only first-person shooter I'm actually quite cracked at, though. That might be partly why I enjoy it. Because when we played X-Defiant together, and whenever I play Call of Duty, I get completely destroyed. So that my KD is like 0.1 or something. Like I'll have like 10 deaths and 1 kill. Whereas in this game, I was bodying teams of people with my character Starchild. And if they nerf Starchild, I will cry. And I will be very upset. But I really enjoyed this game. I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah, are we going to be giving scores, or are we?
Oh yeah, we'll save that just for the moment. We'll save that just for the moment.
Okay, we'll get around to that. So yeah, Davey,
we certainly will.
What do you think? Should we pass it over to you?
So yeah, so I played 7 hours of the beta. I played a lot over the last few days, and I've been busy as well. So I've managed to just get my game time in. I've played most of it, pretty much all of it actually, with Maloon. So me and Maloon booted up. We got in there pretty much like I think he played a little bit more than I did when it started. I got in there about 8 p.m. on Friday, and then didn't really come off for too long across the entire weekend. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But for me, I played every single hero, tried every single one out, and I quickly realized that there's 2 people who are cracked out the fucking arse, and that is Rocker and Davis. They are by far the best.
Really?
Yeah, they're by far the best. Rocker is for somebody who has no brain. They are the most smooth brain character ever. There's hardly any skill. All the skill with her comes in not the aiming, not the shooting, because if you fly up in the air, hold up L2, you get an auto target lock, and you could just spam. And that's all you need to do. The skill with her is managing your health, because she has the least health out of every single character. So it's a case of making sure that you take fights that you know you've got a strong chance to win. You got to work alongside your team, and you got to know when to get in and out of danger. And with her playing, I racked up a 16 kill, 0 death. I was absolutely unstoppable. I topped every single game that we played of that. Even with Spence was in. Like, Spence was saying to me after I came off, I didn't play on the last day of the beta, and he was like, Maloon saying that I'm the real MVP. I was thinking, Spence, I played with you all weekend, and I was scoring better than you every single game. There's no way, mate. There's no way. This game is mine, bro. This game is mine. Can't be talking shit to me now. But, yeah, those 2 characters absolutely dominate. And there's different tactics to using them, which I really enjoyed. So with Davis, it's all about, you can just run in and start just pelping people with oil. You can do that. But the bigger thing is to lure. So it's to pepper an area, lure a team through it, and then ignite it. And then you've also got the other L1, the little missile that she fires, to finish off if you need to. But really, those 6 bullets you can squad wipe. And I did that so many times. I loved how different each hero felt. And you could feel the different roles that each person plays. And when you combine them and you all work together, you make magic happen in this game. And that's what I enjoy, is everyone playing their role. And especially towards the end of the beta, when, Lewis, you knew Starchild like the back of your hand. Spence knew that weird, like, goblin-looking woman who teleports. He had her down. Maloon had down Varl, the sniper with the lovely eyes, as he kept saying she had. You had all these different characters that just, the synergy between them that you make work as a team just pays dividends. And there was a couple of games we had where we were getting a bit overconfident. We hadn't lost for a long time, and we were smoking arse. And we all of a sudden met this team that were just playing well together. and we started getting our shit rocked, and we were like 10-0 down in kills. And then I think on mic then I was like, guys, we just got to fucking play together. We just got to, nobody go on your own. We're working together on this. And we turned the tide. And it literally just, the game just switched and we started just rampaging through because we had better teamwork and synergy. And that just proved to me at that point, I was like, this game is all about, there's no lone gunners on this. If you lone gun, you just die. You get wiped so fast. You have to work off each other. And I think they nailed that so well. And it really sold it to me. I think this beta was really, really impressive. And I was worried, and I want to get your thoughts on this before we get into a rating and kind of final thoughts. When I first saw the footage for Concord, I was worried about it being really slow, floaty, that it wasn't going to feel nice. Now, a lot of people were complaining about the sensitivity, and they said they had to higher the sensitivity up. I personally didn't change my sense, and I just got used to the feel of it, and it being more of a, you're not playing a Twitch shooter, you're playing a game where you all work together to melt someone, rather than you're just melting on first contact. And it just worked for me. And as soon as I kind of changed my mindset for it, I was along for the ride. Did you guys have to change any of the settings? Or did you just find that after you kind of vibed with it, it was fine? Lewis, I'll come to you first.
I was a basic bitch. I just left everything the same way. I didn't touch any of the controls or anything. And I thought it was fine. You know, I'm more of I love like Halo 3 and like classic shooters like that. It's kind of sad saying Halo 3 is a classic shooter, but it is now. But like I prefer, kind of like the slower paced shooters and like more about knowing where the thing like map positioning and where to be on the map and like team working as a team, as you said. Like as you said, I was going to bring up the same example you did, where we were getting destroyed and then we all like go like get together, we'll work together, and that really sold the game to me. I think this is a really good co-op multiplayer experience. That was what I was gonna. I mean, the reason I like this game though is because we're all playing together. I'm not sure how I would feel if I was playing this on my own. That's the only thing really I need to think about and to consider when it comes to the full retail of this game.
I think you're right to feel like that as well, because it's a game that you need to have synergy to win. You need to have comms. Like, at this point, you could probably go into a lobby and just do fine, right? Because everyone's pretty shit. But give it a couple of months when everyone really understands their legends and understands their roles they play, and especially in some of those competitive, sweaty game modes that we were playing in, where there's no respawns and you're really just fighting for your life and you really got to make plays to win. Playing that with randoms would suck. It's the same thing as like Dead by Daylight or Apex or any of these. Playing with randoms is not what it's about. Like, it's about having a team of players to go in. And I think that if a few of us decide to pony up and do it, then I think it's worth the purchase. But I can't imagine having fun if I was the only one who bought it. You know? I feel that it would really fall down, because that's not what the game is, you know, ultimately. But I think that's a valid point there, Lewis. What about yourself, Phil?
Again, I've just got to agree what you guys are saying. You know, they've really nailed the team-based shooting aspect within this. Now, I'm not the biggest COD fan, as you know, subscribers to the channel will know. You know, I join you boys, but it is fun because I'm playing with you guys. I never really invest too much time in it because of the run and gun nature of COD. It's just not really for me. You know, I'm an ex Counter-Strike player where there's a bit more teamwork involved. That was a bit more my misspent youth. Now, I was getting shades of that sort of level of teamwork that you needed within Concord. Even within my short playtime, I could definitely see that, you know, you really had to watch each other's back within it. You know, you had Lewis running in, but if Roker was, you know, covering you, we could really put together a long string of kills, and that just doubles up the complexity. And if you've got the full 5 people working together, it's just a beautiful sight. And I could see that being very, very addictive. But I think the problem that this game is going to face is its negative perception online, because I went away from even my initial couple of games on PlayStation Portal thinking there's something interesting here. I want to play more. But as soon as I started looking on Twitter, which I probably shouldn't have, I do spend a lot more time than, most on Twitter. I'm usually on there in work, and it's one of my most used apps on my phone. It's like 99% negative. And I can only see that coming from the vocal minority here, because everyone I've spoken to who has actually played the game has come away with mostly positive views on it. Let's put it that way. Mostly positive. But gotta agree with you, lads. This is a game that you need the 5 friends to be playing together, regularly playing, and having that barrier to entry, which is the cost. I think, again, that might be a stumbling block for Concord. I really do. Even though it is a reduced barrier to entry, it is still a barrier to entry to encourage your friends onto it. Now, we talk a lot about betas when we do a bit of podcasting. We talk a lot about past betas that we've joined in, and it's basically ruined the game for us. Now, this one definitely hasn't. It's done the complete opposite, in my opinion. Even with the bugs that I experienced, this was how you should do a beta, because it's got me interested in the game. It's got me wanting to play more of this game. And I'm not going to lie, I was quite sour on the visuals initially. I was quite sour on some of the controversy. Again, maybe influenced too heavily from Twitter. But if you actually play the game, there's something there. There really is. And no, Davey, I didn't change any of the controls.
Well, I think you're right. Twitter is a cesspool of ignorant fuckers. It just really is. And as soon as there's pronouns in there, for some reason, people feel like as if they just got to outrage about it. I just don't understand. I just don't get it. Me and Maloon were talking about this, and I was just saying to him the same thing that I say on the show all the time for this kind of stuff. Twitter, X, however you want to call it, it fucking sucks. Like, negativity just spreads so far. And I was really interested to see on my Twitter feed that I had a nice kind of 50-50 split. That I had everyone
Really?
a really 50-50 split. People who played it, enjoyed it, and everyone that obviously hadn't played it were just talking shit. Talking mad shit. You had the occasional person, right? I saw the one, oh my God, the one fucking take was wild. I saw this guy, right? He was playing as that teleporter lady. And, she's quite squishy, right? She's nimble, but she doesn't take any damage. And he runs in, team of 3 in front of him, runs up, he's behind them, unloads a clip, obviously doesn't kill anyone. Because, like, one clip of ammo, unless you're playing some of the big hitters like Rocker or you're playing as Davis, you ain't killing someone on a clip of ammo, right? Like, they're there to finish and to be able to maneuver and get the kills. And he unloads this clip, gets completely, like, the whole squad just turned and wipe him. And he's like, fucking shit game, I have first shots, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you're playing the wrong game, bro. Like, this isn't COD. If that was COD and you had 3 of them lined up in a full clip, they're gone. You've obliterated them. That is not that game. You need to work with your other players that were over on the other side of the fucking map, and you're lone gunning it. Like, you deserve to die. You are throwing the team under the fucking bus here. And I just think, like, if you go in with a negative perception and you're not willing to learn what the game is, you will come out with a negative opinion. If you go in with an open mind and you give it a chance and you want to be able to see what it is actually under the hood, I think you will come away from this with a positive experience. But, you can't have everyone be, logical online. And as soon as pronouns are in the mix, for some reason, you get this certain side of Twitter which are just fucking ignorant as hell. Like, what difference does it make to me if a character has a they, them, or a he, she, or whatever it is? I don't care. It does. I could not give less of a fuck if it's there or not. It means nothing to me. I just play the game, look at the characters, and just go with it. And I think 90% of people, I would assume, are normal people, right? Like, pronouns doesn't really matter to most of us. There's that odd person who rages about it in that Starfield video, that guy who's like crying or whatever because it asked him to pick his pronoun. There's like that one guy out of probably 10,000 people that cares. And the issue is, they're the ones that are the loudest on Twitter because they have an issue. And so you get all the like-minded fucking fuckheads who just go on and retweet it and start spreading that negativity. And that's what happens. But I think much like with The Last of Us, you can have as much hate online, doesn't make a difference to game sale or game playability. You think how much hate there was for Hogwarts Legacy. You would have thought nobody would bought that game. Spoiler alert, it was like one of the best-selling games of the last 2 years. You know, like, it just doesn't matter and it doesn't translate. So I wouldn't even worry about it whatsoever. But Lewis, am I saying something different here?
I mean, you're spot on, and like as you said, they had that one guy on Starfield screaming about pronouns, and that game sold pretty damn well as well. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm not bothered by the pronoun thing. I don't see why that's a problem with people. Just who cares? Honestly, it's not a big. It's not. It's in the corner. I like forgot it was there until like you mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, it does say pronouns in the corner. It's not something you look for. It's just it's in the corner of the screen, above the bio or below their name, above the bio. It doesn't really matter. Who cares? I thought like it doesn't affect my gameplay at all. To be honest, it's not like a character's like having a big swinging dick between his legs makes it more difficult to handle or anything. Like it doesn't make any difference to the gameplay. So why do I care? So no, I like no. Each their own, eh? Each their own.
Did it in any way influence? Did it in any way influence your character choice having the pronouns? Because the two characters I picked was a they them and she her. Is that the right pronouns? Let's get these right.
Yeah,
I never want to get these wrong because that would cancel me. I could say what I want about paedophilia. I'm fine, but get a pronoun wrong, I would be cancelled. But it obviously didn't influence me because I picked the characters I picked because they were interesting and turns out they were cracked.
Yeah. It's not going to, is it? I mean, like, you'd have to be a really fucking special, just uppity little dickhead to really care. To be like, oh my God, I love Dor. Dor's a prime example, right? Big fat bloke. And I thought it was a woman for ages. And I was like, oh, Big Mama Dor coming in. And then I think Lorraine looked at the pronoun. He's like, it's a bloke. I was like, what? I'm still going to call it Big Mama Dor because it just sounds cool, right? But did that stop me playing it? No, I don't. Who cares? Who cares? Like, Spence always plays women. So it would be difficult for him to move away from a female gent. He just always seems to go for that. For me, I normally play as blokes. But my top two characters are biologically women. I'm cool with that. I would have played as a fucking gay robot like one-off. It does not bother. Who cares? Like, who fucking cares? You play for how the character feels and if you vibe with that character, right? Like, you can't even fucking see him when you're playing as them. Who gives a fuck? And if anybody does, honestly, go outside and touch grass. Please. Or go and speak to the opposite sex or whoever you're attracted to. Go and speak to them. Because, honest to God, you need to get laid, bro. Like, whoever gives a fuck about this stuff is just lonely and bitter. And I don't know what's happened to them. Maybe their parents didn't love them enough as a kid. Maybe they just find fault in everything else. Or maybe, maybe their uncle, that one rapey uncle, maybe had his way with them a bit too much. Whatever the case is, ultimately, go and seek therapy and sort your fucking life out because there's bigger issues at hand than what they call themselves. Fucking hell, it's so sad. But let's move away from that. Let's get our kind of final thoughts on this and give us a rating. Lewis, shall we start with yourself? Let's come to you. Give us your final thoughts on Concord and a rating, if you don't mind.
Right, okay. This is hard. Right, because I really enjoyed our experience playing it together. I'm quite cracked at this game when it comes to Starchild, which is the Drax character, the heavy. But then it does occur to me that I would feel like this is not as good as Overwatch, probably not as good as Halo, and then also we're going to be playing. I was getting my game calendar up earlier, so Call of Duty's out in October. So what? We got 2 months for this game until Call of Duty comes out, and then I'm going to lose you and Spencer forever. You're never coming back. Me and Phil might play a bit more, I suppose, but yeah, like. I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed this game much more than I enjoyed like X-Defy and stuff like that. I would probably give this like I know you're gonna make jokes because of it, but I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Uh, even though I know the 7 out of 10 is kind of
Surprise.
here we go. Yeah, but it's mainly because I think I've enjoyed it, but it's because I'm playing with you guys. As soon as you guys are gone and playing Call of Duty, then I'm probably never gonna go back to it. This is not a game I'm gonna play on my own. Like I'll still play Halo on my own. I'll probably still play Call of Duty on my own. There's games that I would still go and play when I'm bored on my own. This one we need to kind of all get together and like, oh yeah, should we play Concord yet? Let's all meet up. But I feel like once the initial hype of the game comes out, it comes out in August. Astrobot comes out like 2 weeks later. As soon as Astrobot comes out, I think we're probably done with it. So that's a shame, but I would still want to give it like a 7 out of 10. It's gonna be. I think if we end up playing it, we'll enjoy it, but it's not gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a short-lived experience, unfortunately. Even though I did enjoy it for what it was.
Fair enough. Phil, over to yourself.
I just wish this game was free, man. I really do. I really wish it was free to play. I think having, as I said earlier, having that barrier to entry is going to be a difficult pill to swallow for the vast majority, and it's going to be a difficult pill to swallow for us. I think if it's a free game and it's available to play anytime, and they make money in a different kind of either just selling different bits and pieces, vanity items such as League of Legends. If they had just followed the way League of Legends works, where you can buy skins for characters or like items for characters which don't affect the game, and made their money that way, I think this would be vastly more accessible and vastly more popular. I think it's going to be difficult for us because there is just so many games vying for your attention. As much as I really enjoyed this game and I do want to play some more, it has to be with you guys. Exactly what Lewis is saying. It has to be with the crew, and it has to be big on the teamwork, and we really have to invest a serious amount of time in it. But I don't want to buy it. I don't want to buy the game. It's just hard. There's just so many games out there that are vying for my money. If this was a free game, I'd spend a lot of time in there, and I may end up spending money on vanity items. But again, having that barrier to entry just kind of puts me off. It really does. I'm going to stick with Lewis on the 7 out of 10. I think there's loads of things this game could do better, and I'm sure it will do as it opens up, because there were so many things within the game that ultimately I didn't get to play. I just played the base experience of running on gunning on 2 or 3 maps actually in total. I think actually less than that. I only played 2 maps. I played one a lot. The one with the big kind of globe in the center. I think you probably know the name of that one, but I played that one a lot. That was good. It was really good. But yeah, I'd love to play more of it, but if I have to buy it, it's probably going to be a no. So stick with the 7 out of 10, the same as Lewis.
It's a tricky one for me. I'm going to come in strong with an 8 out of 10. Slightly higher experience. And the reason for that is because I kind of can't stop thinking about it. We got the next beta this coming weekend, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to diving back in. The issue I have is that, as Lewis said, COD is very fast on the heels behind it. Now, I was speaking a little bit to Spence about this. If I was to get it, if I was to buy it, it means that we play it then for a solid couple of months until COD. Now, COD, historically, will hold my interest from the October of its release, or the November, through to about January. And then after that, it kind of gets put on the shelf. There's the odd exception. So Modern Warfare 2 lasted the entire time that game was being supported. So I played it for an entire year. And it sucked, because it meant I played nothing else, just COD. This Black Ops is looking like it's going to be a whole year-round kind of COD. And so I run a gamble here. I either buy the game and I get 2 solid months out of it, and it then gets put to bed, and that's it. And then I come back after the year of COD is up. or I wait. And what happens is that we get a year down the line and it's going to be included in PS Plus, which is what I imagine is going to happen. Now, my thought is to wait and to hang fire and to not dive in day one, because I'll be playing other games I'm trying to tick off my backlog at the moment, and I can wait for my multiplayer experience with COD. And I think that's the way it's going to go. And it kind of sucks, because I think this game does deserve the money. The same way that Helldivers does. There's a level of polish here that I don't see. It's a better graphical fidelity than any other free-to-play shooter I've played. It feels super polished. But ultimately, 35 quid's 35 quid. And I think this coming weekend's beta is going to be the one. If I play this beta this weekend and I come away and I'm really craving it, I might have to put my money down. But if I don't, and I'm quite happy to leave it, then it's going to wait until it comes to PlayStation Plus. And that would be the way it goes. But still, very strong. Give it an 8.77. Not bad at all for a first impressions.
Davey, if you end up buying this game, I will buy it. I'll just throw that out there. So it's down to, because if you and Spencer end up getting, because if you buy it, Spencer gets it, and then that's 3 people.
Spencer
right
gets
there,
it.
So
yeah.
So if you end up buying
and
it, I will end up getting it.
got it.
So it's
I do think it's a waterfall effect with all of us. If one of us crumbles, not crumbles, but one of us decides to take the gamble on this game, I think we probably all will. But let's see what happens after a little bit more game time, because we've got it. We've got the beauty of time at the moment. We've got another couple of days. Or how long is this next run?
It's Friday to Sunday again, unless it gets extended. So we got a whole other weekend. Sure, we're out Saturday, so we can't play it then, but we could play it Friday night. We could play it Sunday, so we can get a good few hours in on this before we have to make a call.
Let's do that, and let's see what happens.
Oh yeah. So also the other issue is that Black Myth Wukong comes out the same day as Concord, and I think you and Spencer are both really looking forward to that game, as far as I'm aware. So I'm not sure that also is going to be an issue as well.
Yeah, you're right. Black Myth Wukong is coming out at the same time, and so that is another thing vying for the time. So it's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be tricky. I mean, the benefit is that with Black Myth, it's a single player experience, right? So I can enjoy that alongside them when we all get the boys together and we saddle up for Concord. But I think, like Phil was saying, we got this beta weekend, which would be the make or break, and from that, the waterfall may be coming. But let's see what happens. I'm sure that we'll talk about it on the next episode of the show. And with that, we're going to end episode 94 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. Thank you ever so much for listening to the show. If you've enjoyed it, there's a couple of ways to support us. The best way, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, then hello. Put a like and a subscribe on the channel. It really does help. We're at 245 subscribers, so very, very small, inching our way up to the 250. So please try it and see if you can support us and make that happen. We would very much appreciate it. If you're listening, with the vast majority of you do, and you're on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you receive your podcast services, then the best way to support the show is to leave a rating. We are looking for 5-star ratings. If you can give them, we are still on a 5-star rated podcast. Let's continue that trend. Let's move these ratings up, because they do make a difference in finding us on the algorithm on these sites. Thank you ever so much for everyone that does support us and reaches out to us on Twitter, at NPS We Trust. It's the best way to get featured on the show and to really have your say, and just let us know what you thought of the episode. We do really appreciate it. But that has been episode 94. My name's Davey.
I've been Phil.
And I've been Spencer. I mean Potato, or Lewis.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is at InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, at SSJDavey, at PhilipHoy, at SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. See ya.